Night, moon, house. In it, a man demanded that the servants throw out a girl and her mother cat. The first begged for forgiveness because her mother was simply hungry. The villain ordered Kitty to shut up, but he would spare the girl's life, fulfilling her mother's request. Kitty continued to beg Mr. Geryon, but he was adamant. The villain's servants had already seized the girl and were ready to throw her out. They promised to kill her if she caught the owner's eye again. Mr. Geryon grabbed the cat, the girl's mother. She begs for mercy. The mother is no longer a living person, said one of the servants. After all, the cat was touching their master's supplies. What was the point of taking them? They were standing at the edge of a cliff. The villains pushed Kitty down and threw the mother cat out. The girl barely caught the unfortunate parent. Unexpectedly, the cat asked her daughter for forgiveness, since the master had thrown her out because of her mother. Kitty asks not to say that because her mother has her sisters and brothers in her belly. She has already been hungry for several days. They simply had no choice. Mother does not think she will last longer than the patrol begins. The cat asks her daughter to send her to the wolf territory. Kitty begged her mother not to talk. She was already bleeding. The mother apologizes to her daughter. If she had known everything in advance, she would have told her everything a long time ago. Kitty has a special power. The cat touched the girl, and a bright glow appeared, which engulfed the baby. Now the daughter knows everything. Having said this, the parent closed her eyes and died. The daughter began to cry bitterly. When did it all go wrong? When the war between the strongest beastmen started, the cat men were pushed back, or when the father and brother died in an accident? Kitty told her mother that she knew nothing. What should she do? The poor thing apologized to the dead woman. She buried the cat and sat in front of her grave. Kitty already missed her mother. In her mind, she called Mr. Geryon a creature. The daughter promises her mother to become strong and avenge her. She got back on her feet. She's confident in herself. Everything will be fine now. She's a cat with a wolfish character. Kitty walked past her mother's grave and hoped that she was in a better world. It started to rain. Kitty turned around again and looked at her mother's grave. She mentally promised her to be happy. But where could she go after being driven out of the cat's territory? She saw a carriage on the road and hid behind a tree. And on the road, an adult was scolding two children. They can't go far away to play with a ball. They might scare other creatures. They are half wolves, Kitty realized. She and they have the same hair color. And does she look like a wolf? Kitty's mother once told her that all cubs look alike up to a certain point. The difference is in the color of their fur. And before she died, her mother said that this is wolf territory. The clan that rules the land of wolves, Gridwolf, is considered the richest and at the same time generous to its fellows. If these creatures find out that she is a cat, they can subject the unfortunate one to bullying. But if Kitty does nothing, she will die of hunger and will not be able to take revenge on the enemy. Unlike animals, beastmen have a high intelligence, so they will not eat anyone. And what if they go crazy like before? The carriage left. Come what may, Kitty decided, and went to Gridwolf's castle. The two kids were in the room. One complained about how the ball had flown over the fence again. The other was tired of playing with it. They regret the absence of their little sister. They would take such good care of her. The butler came in. He apologizes, but someone is hanging around the castle. The boys went out and saw Kitty. She asked, "Is this Gridwolf's castle?" She was almost scared when she saw the boys. She greeted them, told them her name, and said, "She is a young she-wolf with a brave heart. She heard about the castle hiring wolf cubs who lost their families. The boys realized that it was a cat. They decided to fatten it up and use it as a sword as punishment for such a deception. Yes, the idea is not bad. The guest has very soft fur. The boys ask the girl to come in. She thanks them. Kitty stretched out her hands to the hosts of the house. They were confused. A handshake? The guest hoped for mutual understanding. The brothers were in solidarity with her. But who shakes both hands at the same time? The brothers took the girl by the hands. How soft they were. They don't understand. Why are they like this if their owner is so skinny? Are all cat people like this? Kitty is happy. She thinks the guys have accepted her as one of their own. They were walking, and the girl thought, "How old are the guys?" "Her name is Kitty, isn't it?" They clarified. The brothers led the girl to the window from which you can see the Gridwolf castle. The guest was in complete delight, and then the trio continued to walk around the room. The servants stood in a row in front of them. Kitty walked past the servants. Everything in this place seemed cool and majestic to her. Everyone here was in place. She remembered that she was walking barefoot. Yes, her feet were also very soft, so she moved silently. One of the brothers asked, "Is something wrong?" "No," she reassured. The mother told her daughter that she had a wolfish nature. Who knows, maybe everything will turn out much better than she thought. After all, these wolves are holding the girl's hands. Kitty apologizes, but she hasn't eaten anything for several days. "Is she hungry?" asked one of the boys. "Everything is fine," reassured Kitty. "The guest is used to eating once a day. If she is a cat, her body's growing, she should eat well." "Why does she eat once a day?" asked the guys. "And how did Kitty end up in the wolf's estate?" The guys apologized for this question. She had to endure a lot at a young age. They know the girl's family died. She was left alone. The brothers can't believe that a guest of such an age has faced the hardships of life. She has obviously traveled a long way here, but don't worry, she will be fed here now. And they also ask her to introduce herself fully. Kitty looked at them with embarrassment. The brothers wondered what people usually call her, and her hands are soft because they really are soft. The guest answered with a smile. One of the brothers, Dion, laughs. They ask him not to do something that is not shameful. "So her full name is Kitty Soft Hands?" The guest agrees. "Yes, but she does her job well. She admitted that she has been working since childhood, and she should have eaten her fill and played all day long. The owners are sure." Finally, the brothers introduce themselves, Teo Gridwolf and Dion Gridwolf, and Mr. Gridwolf, whom the guest was looking for, is their father. He's not in the castle now, but he will return soon. Kitty could not believe that she was walking arm in arm with the sons of the owner, and she thought, why are they treating her so well? "Is she surprised?" asked the brothers. But there is nothing to be surprised about. She is a wolf just like them. From the suddenness, Kitty's claws came out. Did the boys notice that she is actually a cat? What should she do? And why has it taken so long to bring food? Teo is so hungry that he has almost lost his sight. The girl longs for the claws to crawl back in. The brothers watch her out of the corner of their eyes. Soon the table was ready. "Soft Hands," Teo addressed the girl. "Here is a welcome dinner from the wolves." They hope that their guest will be with them for a long time. Kitty was very excited by what she saw. What would she like to start with? The girl chose one of the dishes. Does Dion see? Teo said that the cat almost let it slip. That is, wolves first of all choose seafood. They asked the guest to eat slowly and chew. Kitty ate the first piece and was stunned. "Very tasty, Soft Hands?" the boys asked. Would she eat this every day? The poor thing really ate something so delicious for the first time. The food melted in her mouth. How is that possible? Kitty ate and ate. The food was too tasty. But cat tails are different from wolf tails. She suspects that her owners will definitely notice the difference. Did they see her ugly piece? If only they hadn't bitten off part of it, then Teo is sure that everyone has realized that Kitty is a cat. She smells like a cat. No one cares about it except the guys. They need to make sure that no one bothers the guest in the estate, and they hired new people. So it's unlikely that Kitty will find a new place, and if there is a place for a guest, Teo and Dayon decided to throw the guest there. She is worried and hopes that it is not about a frying pan. Did she hear them? The brothers are surprised. They ask for forgiveness, let her not pay attention, and continue eating. The brothers looked closely, and it seemed to them that the guest's tooth had not fallen out. It felt as if she had fallen and broken it. And the girl's claws are broken. In addition, she looks unhealthily thin. The only way to avoid bullying is to make the father accept the guest into the family. Teo and Dayon decided. If the parents approve of this scruffy girl, everything will be fine, the brothers think. But there are things that the mother hides. She will obviously like the fact that a daughter has appeared. Kitty does not understand why they look at her like that. The boys just noticed her wonderful wolf ears. Do they always twitch like that when Kitty eats something tasty? Aren't all wolves like that? The girl wonders. Teo and Dayon laughed. Of course, they twitch when the wolf cubs are small. The boys are sure that they had the same thing. They just don't remember it anymore. Kitty laughed. She thought so. Teo asks permission to touch the guest's ears. The girl turned her head away. It was impolite to ask for such a thing. But the boys were kind to her, so they were allowed to. Teo apologized, but touched the guest's ears and smiled. Dayon asked about his impressions. How did they feel? The brothers can't wait for their father to arrive. They asked the servants to tell their mother that there is urgent business for her. They decided to find the family book before their parent returns. That way, things will go faster. They continued to touch the girl's ears. What soft fluff on the tips. Kitty wonders, Mr. Gridwolf, what is he like? Jackal Gridwolf is the strongest of the wolves. He has a sharp tongue and a menacing face, but he loves his family. The leopards turn white at the mere mention of the brother's father. They are sure that the guest will probably turn white too. Teo is ready to tell about the mother. Her name is Karis Gridwolf, a feisty she-wolf from a family of knights. And she also dreams of a daughter. The girl was amazed by these words. Kitty has nowhere to go, she's just a child, so the girl needs someone to adopt her, Teo thinks. He offered her to become part of their family. The guest is too young to be a servant, and their castle is the safest place in all of the wolf territory. If Mr. Jackal adopts Kitty, her life will no longer be in danger. But no one except the girl will remember her family. The servants announced the arrival of the children's parents. Teo picked up the guest. She wanted to meet Mr. Gridwolf. Aren't soft hands afraid of the growling of wolves? Dion asks ironically. Why? She's a she-wolf too, the girl assured the boys. Soon they came to their father. The color of the hair of the owner of the house and his look screamed about his wolf origin. Kitty understood. The gentleman looked menacingly at the guest. Jackal doesn't understand what kind of hairball his sons have. The girl is surprised she is in human form. Soft Hands wanted to meet the owner of the castle, said Dion. Kitty greeted him timidly. The guest introduced herself. She is small, but has a strong character, and here she is in the hope of getting shelter. Jackal leaned over with a menacing look and shook the guest's hand. The children understand his feelings, but ask him to let go of Kitty's hand. He can break her like that. The little girl wondered, did he like her? But why did the gentleman have such an expression on his face? She's too small and thin to work in the castle. She assured Jackal. But if she wishes, the wolf can provide the girl with a home in the territory of small animals. She is weak for the wolflands, but Soft Hands Wolf, she does not belong there, the sons think. The girl is still a child, so she looks soft and cute, and when she grows up, she will be a danger to small animals. Well, yes, she really is a wolf, Jackal agrees. The brothers are ready to protect the guest if she becomes part of the family. They asked, does he know about his wife's dream of having a daughter? The boy's mother was never thrilled with little girls. The father doesn't understand where his sons get such thoughts from. The brothers saw something in their mother's closet. They can run and get something from there. Apparently, Mrs. Gridwolf doesn't like little girls very much, Kitty thought. What if she suddenly throws out the poor orphan as soon as she sees her? I heard that in wolf families, the last word belongs to the ladies. Suddenly, someone from behind ripped the blanket off Kitty's body. It was Karis. Gridwolf, she wonders what this girl is doing in the estate. The brothers introduced the guest to their mother. This is Kitty, a small she-wolf with a strong character. She lost all her relatives, so she came here in search of shelter and work. The girl extended her hand and greeted the lady. Kitty thinks that the mistress doesn't like the girl's soft hands. She will definitely throw the poor thing out. The orphan promised Karis to sing songs that will improve her mood. On a sunny day, she will bring flowers from the field, and at night the girl will open the curtains so that the lady can enjoy the beautiful night landscape. And if Karis does not like the girl's presence, she is able to clean the chimneys. The poor thing learned this when she could not yet speak. Kitty was already crying and asked to stay with them at least for a little while. She promises the lady not to catch her eye. Karis sat down next to the guest and asked her to wipe away her tears first. She considers it necessary to wash the guest. The girl was surprised by this, but she hates the bath, water, and doesn't like when the fur is fluffy. But soon Kitty was serving Lena Gray, a maid. The woman asks to be called Mrs. Gray. She will be the one to help the baby with the procedures. Kitty greeted the maid and told her name. She said that she had come to the castle to get a job. Lena Gray is surprised because she came at a young age, but she praises her for such actions. According to the maid, their master is kind. He even gave her a job, although she is an old woman with problems due to old age. The guest is no less surprised. Gray says that the master treats the wolves as his family. The maid suggests starting the water procedures and then begin treating the girl's wounds. Kitty tries to assure Mrs. Gray that she can wash herself without water, but the woman sternly stated, "That's how cats wash themselves, so it won't work." The maid undresses the orphan. Her dress is old, even the buttons won't come undone. An awkward movement, and the girl starts whining. Gray gets scared. She doesn't want to scare the poor thing. But the dress can no longer be worn after washing. It must be thrown away. It is expensive for Kitty, so the girl wants to keep the buttons as a keepsake. The maid does not mind, but only after the guest has bathed. Mrs. Gray combs the girl's hair. What a pity that no one took care of it. Kitty had a hard time, but she will tie up her curls beautifully when she gets a job, just like the maid herself. According to the maid, if you braid 2 braids, it will look very cute. She wonders where the rest of Kitty's things are. She confesses that she has nothing except this dress, so her closet will be empty for some time. Gray is sure. Wardrobe? Surprised Kitty. And she didn't know? Mrs. Gray answered. The brothers ordered a room with a huge wardrobe to be prepared for the girl. For the first time, these rascals take such tender care of a guest. The maid picked up the girl. How small she was. Now she had to go swimming. Kitty had mixed feelings in the water. She felt pain. Now she understood how badly her legs had suffered. What is that smell? Mrs. Gray was amazed. It must be because I haven't had a bath for so long, Kitty answered. She saw a duck in the bathroom and started playing with it. Then she tried on a new dress. How does she feel in it? Asked the maid. The guest thanked her for the warm and gentle outfit. It is strange for the maid that even after the bath, the smell does not go away. Kitty is worried. Did she hide her ears and tail at all? Mrs. Gray looked closely at the guest's eyes and thought they were beautiful. They were emerald green. It was the first time the woman had seen a she-wolf with such eyes. The girl replied she had come from far away. When the maid looks into Kitty's eyes, she thinks they are on a picnic by the sea. She offered to comb Kitty's hair. It became much better after washing. Judging by its thickness, the baby lived in a cold place. Usually such hair is typical for animals living in freezing regions. According to Kitty, there were drafts there, water dripped from the ceiling, so she put on several layers of clothing. But the girl enjoyed hugging her mother on cold days. Did the girl live in the north? Mrs. Gray asked. Kitty couldn't say, but they were always short of firewood for the stove. The maid's face became sad. Finally, they finished. Mrs. Gray thought that the hosts would like the guest's new appearance. The guest thanked the woman in return. The maid called the girl an energetic wolf, so she would definitely get the job. The bathroom will be cleaned, and Kitty can go and rest for now. The girl came to her room and looked at it with admiration, and in surprise she stopped in front of her reflection in the mirror. This is not a wolf color. She was amazed. Kitty Dot. She hadn't washed for a long time, so her curls probably turned dark gray. The girl saw a towel and wrapped her head in it, although they would suspect something was wrong if she walked like that. Transformed the bandage, and now the ears are visible. Teo and Dayon had already told the guest about their beauty. She remembered the words that she would live here for some time. Kitty decided to hide the buttons under the pillow. They would not be found there. She lay down on the bed. How soft it is. It will be great if she can stay here for at least 1 week. After all, the brothers are happy about the girl's presence here. But their parents, it seems, do not share such joy. Since they are the most important ones here, it is up to them to decide whether Kitty will stay here or not. Maybe they will allow her to stay in the castle until someone else comes to work for them. The little girl remembered her brothers and sisters in her mother's belly. Kitty's mother told her that there were 3 of them. The girl wanted to know what color their fur was most of all. The guest got out of bed. It was not time to rest. She had to go to the gentlemen and ask them for help. A Karis Gridwolf questioned her sons in the study about the girl. They said her name, and because of her soft hands, she had a similar nickname. Wouldn't the estate be more harmonious if the brave little girl became their sister? It was reported that Kitty was told how the Gridwolf family helps wolves who have lost their relatives. But it takes a long time before Kitty can work, so they were irresponsible and promised to adopt her. Mother asks Teo and Dayon, have they forgotten how 12 and 4 years ago, because of blue magic, the beastmen lost their minds and turned into monsters? A blue moon appeared in the land of leopards 12 years ago, a stone that was only heard of in tales about the creation of the world. Having heard about the appearance of the goddess's object, the leopards came running to look at it. But this was the beginning of a disaster. The blue moon contained great primordial magic. Under its influence, the leopards turned into monsters and lost control of their minds. And the brothers know very well that the leopards who captured the stone are trying to induce madness in other creatures through experiments. No one can guarantee Kitty's safety if the animals in the castle go crazy. If Father makes Kitty part of the family, no one will attack her, Teo is sure. Dayon agrees. After all, wolves always keep order. According to Mother, living without dying is not the same as living in safety. How much safer is it for a cat to live among wolves? Can sons guarantee her safety? Teo pointed out the wolf's father's recent recognition of the girl. Karis was very angry when she heard this. Soft Hand's relatives died. There was no one to protect and feed her. She ended up with the wolves, not knowing about the possible madness. The mother decided to let the children go to their rooms. At night, a she-wolf stood over 3 wolf cubs in a field. Her peace was guarded by a guard with a sword. She asked the cubs to breathe. The warrior reported the enemy's advance. With tears in her eyes, the predator promised to return for them. She asks the wolf cubs to hold on if it gets cold and scary. And in the mansion, she looked out the window at the full moon. She went out into the hallway where a cat was sleeping on a pillow. Jackal was standing nearby. According to him, Kitty had been waiting for them here all the time. The she-wolf wants to tell her husband something. She once deceived him. Jackal asked her to throw away some things, but she did not do it. And every time she remembered her, she bought new things. Every time Kara sees the girl, she frowns because she reminds her of that little girl. If they leave Kitty, the lady will die from the thought that something might happen to the unfortunate girl. The husband tries to calm his wife down. The cat muttered in her sleep, "She's not tasty. Only her tail." "It is difficult to pretend to be a wolf with such a tail," smiles Karis. Jackal is sure that the baby will be in danger anywhere, but they can take care of the girl until she gets back on her feet. Karis is very happy about the orphan, but the lady is overcome with fear for her life. In the morning, Kitty woke up on the pillow. How soft and warm it was for her. Kitty remembered that she was in the form of a cat last night. She could explain everything to her owner. She just laughed but apologized for it. It was just that Karis hadn't seen the wolf cubs for a long time. The sons have long since grown up, so the mother does not remember how cute children are at that age. How good that she thinks that the girl is a wolf, the guest reassured herself. Kitty seemed to be unhappy with her mistress. Maybe because of her fighting nature, Kitty seemed older to her. She decided to act like an adult from now on. Then she could stay in the castle, get stronger, and get back on her feet, and then take revenge on Jarian. Karis thinks that the cat's fur is a little crumpled because of the long sleep. Smooth it out? That's exactly what the girl needs. The lady stroked it, and the little girl laughed and asked to stroke it in these and those places. But if she decided to pretend to be an adult, then she shouldn't like this, Kitty thought. Karis was wondering why Dion called the guests soft hands, but now it's all clear. The girl has such soft and gentle paws. Kitty seemed to dislike the girl's soft hands. She thought they would seem strange to her. The hostess promised to feed the guests delicious food so she would gain weight. Karis asked Kitty to go to breakfast. Everyone is already waiting for them. The girl told the girl her name. "Short tie?" she asked, but the guest will be comfortable if they call her by her full name. The lady carried the girl in her arms. So they're going to leave her here, providing her with work, thought Kitty. Or will they adopt her? The baby is very different from Karis in appearance, and it will be difficult to hide her cat insides. When this moment comes, the girl will be forced to leave the castle. They came to the dining room where the brothers and their father were already. The boys were happy to see Soft Hands. She was not in the room, and the boys decided that the guest was thrown out. The brothers suspected that other wolves had attacked the girl. But no, Kitty was tired and fell asleep in the hallway. She apologizes for the boys worrying about her. Dion and Teo did not sleep at night because of worry. Apparently, their father upset their mother, so he was running around the boiler room from early morning. The girl was offered creamy mushroom soup with crispy pieces of fried salmon. Karis asked Kitty to eat slowly, calling her by name. This surprised the sons. According to the mother, the girl allowed it. They wouldn't call a lady by name without permission, would they? The children asked Soft Hands for permission to call her by her name. She agrees because these people were so kind to her. The lady turns to her husband and suggests asking permission because he looks at her like that and scares the girl. The brothers hope that their guest will like the dessert. They thought that she would appreciate the pudding, so they asked to make it especially for the girl. Kitty's dish seems very large. It was obviously intended for Jakal. The boys assured the pudding is for her. Karis asked Kitty, "How is her breakfast?" Everything was very tasty. The guest answered and thanked the hosts. The lady is glad if she liked it. Let her come and eat whenever she is hungry. Kitty remembered how Jarian used water to control cats, and the lady had just given her free access to the kitchen. Perhaps it was because the girl was similar to wolves, the little girl thought with a smile. And then Karis informed the guest about the family's desire to take her under guardianship. Until Kitty comes of age, she will be safe here. She is asked to express her personal opinion on this matter. The whole family? Kitty was surprised. She looked at Jakal, and this calmly sitting man also wanted to see the orphan as a member of the family. She remembered how the villains threw her mother cat off the cliff that night. Kitty would be happy to become a grid wolf, but she had already promised not to forget her family. The girl does not want to disappoint the wolves. Her loved ones will always be with her. She's not obliged to forget them. This is how Karis consoled Kitty. The lady understands what it is about. So the unfortunate orphan has nothing to worry about. The girl's family will always live in her heart. Can Kitty have two families before she comes of age? The orphan began to cry. Karis was sure that her relatives wanted her to live happily and safely. Teo wiped the guest with a handkerchief. "So she will become his sister?" the boy asked, and the unfortunate woman was sad about her future life in luxury. She told the wolves how he dug his mother's grave with his own hands, where she now rests. Karis said that all animals go to a better place after a funeral. Kitty did not have the money for a proper burial. The lady will help her organize the funeral, even if it is a little late. Kitty wonders where the best place is. It is the heavenly country. It is very warm and cozy there. The guest was answered. The brothers are sure that their almost sister's family lives there in even greater luxury, as there is absolutely everything there, and she has nothing to worry about in this regard. The girl is surprised by the fact that this place exists. Is it possible that salmon fillets flow through the rivers there? The girl turned to Mr. Jakal. Does the Sky Country really have everything? He thought about it. Yes, it does. Kitty thanked the family for their kindness. The brothers are happy to have a sister. If she is happy, then they are happy too. Do we need a funeral for the guest's brother and father? They died long ago during a mission. Jakal became wary and asked again, "What mission?" "In the bear's territory," Kitty answered. They were both named Icarus. Jakal stared at the girl, and she did not understand the reason for such attention. And her mother was buried in the cat's territory. It would be dangerous to hold a funeral there, and I don't want to dig up Kitty's grave at all. Besides, her mother doesn't look like a wolf at all. Although the girl could describe her father as a wolf. Beastmen can have a family with any animal while in human form. But is it worth digging up the mother's body for burial? And what if she eats salmon from the river at that moment? Kitty decided not to disturb her, as her mother has children growing in her belly. Karis asks the girl not to worry because the main thing at a funeral is flowers, candles, and wishes. It is enough if the guest attaches a picture of the family. Kitty was delighted by this. The brothers were already pulling her along, wanting to show her their rooms. There are different things for drawing in EO. He has 200 units of crayons alone. The adults will prepare flowers and candles for now. The trio approached the door with a fake wolf head instead of handles. Kitty was scared. She couldn't open it because she was holding on to her brothers with both hands. Teo will open it, but only this time. They entered a room where there were two maids. The boys showed them out. The brothers will gradually introduce Soft Hands to all the people living in the castle. Dayon sat his new sister down on the floor, spreading a blanket. She seemed light to him. The guy would ask him to cook a double portion of delicious food, especially for the girl. Wouldn't that be too much? She doubted. Her brother asks her to come to his room if she is hungry. Dion's room is next to Teo's room. He will always have salmon fillet ready for her. Kitty thanked the guy and called him sir. Dion didn't like it much. He's not angry. It's too early to call him a brother. He'll wait a bit. Teo doesn't understand what Dion did here without him. Teo brought a piece of paper and asked his sister to draw on it. The sheet will fit into a frame. While the girl was drawing, the brothers watched her tail. It moved exactly like chalk on paper. Teo was ready to go crazy with laughter. Kitty turned around. She was still a child. The boys apologized for making fun of her. They promised not to do it again. The maid came in with some goodies from the mistress. Dion offered his sister some cookies, and she agreed to take one. When Kitty continued, Teo asked about the girl's family. What was it like? Answer, the mother was very good. The daughter liked it when Kitty hugged her. It was the mother who first called the baby soft hands. The boy is sure that his mother raised her daughter well, and his mother also told him about Kitty's father and brother, calling them heroes. They were rarely home, but always brought gifts with them. The boys promised to try to be like their current sister's family. According to Kitty, she had 3 brothers or sisters. They were not born yet, so the guest will not draw the unfortunate ones. The girl seemed to have time to finish the drawing. Can she color them all? She asked her brother. He didn't mind, but she had to do it carefully. Kitty turned away, and the boys laughed at her again. They compared her to bread, a cat bun. Kitty wanted to remember her family in a cat form. The girl promises to keep her loved ones in her own memory, mentally asks not to worry about her, and promises to be happy. Brothers, sisters, mother, father, may they also be happy in the heavenly country. It was already sunset outside. Kitty realized she would not make it. Teo asks for a drawing. He will put it in a frame now. Karis and Kitty entered, boasted to her about her work. It turned out great, the lady praised her guest. She hopes that the drawing will be suitable for the farewell ceremony. The hostess invites everyone to come with her, but the brothers want to go somewhere. The mother does not object, but asks her sons not to be late. Karis and the girl left the room. The little girl wonders where they're going. To her bedroom, Karis answered. They again approached the door with the wolf heads. Kitty remembered that her room had different handles. They entered the auditorium where Jackal was standing. When asked what kind of place this was, the gentleman answered, "The girl's room." She agreed. The room looked like her, but she is not here. Kitty's room. Gridwolf, said Jackal. The guest understood. Only members of this family have door handles in the form of wolf heads. Now she considers herself one of them, albeit temporarily. The little girl thanked him for the pillow, too. When Teo and Dion arrive, they will light the candles. If they burn out, it will be clear. The girl's relatives have gone to heaven. Karis asks the guests to be ready for this. The brothers enter. They hope they are not late. They have something for soft hands. They gave her a box with candles and flowers. This is for unborn siblings. The boys could not ignore the wish of their little sister. Kitty's eyes. The boys asked her not to cry and suggested that they start the ceremony quickly before the sun went down. Everything needed was placed on a stand in the cage. Kitty loved her family and wished them happiness in the heavenly country. She thanked those present for helping her say goodbye to her loved ones. The wolf family will be with her until the last candle burns out. But won't they fall asleep? The girl is afraid. Answer: to be a family means to be able to wait for the sake of a loved one. Thank you, brothers. Kitty thanked the guys. They were surprised. What did she just say? This is not fair. What kind of cuteness attack is this? The Lord asked Soft Hands to wake up. She opened her eyes and saw flowers blooming in the cage. It seemed that the girl's mother gave birth in heaven. It seemed so. How wonderful, Kitty. The wolves addressed her. After all the candles had burned down, the remains were collected, put into an urn, and buried underground in the backyard. Jackal brought a small pendulum and placed it in the place of the candles. He called it a magic tool that would protect the chrysanthemums and the painting. Although the gentleman looks cold, he is very kind. Thus, thanks to Kitty's new family, the farewell ceremony took place. Later, the boys brought Kitty to their father's office, which had 3 doors. One led to the study, the second to the Hall of Fame, and the third to the assembly hall. Jacal dealt with military matters, and Karis dealt with political ones. Her office was opposite her father's. Kitty came in and sat down at the table. The chair seemed soft to her, and the place itself was cool. The guest also noticed the family portrait. "Did the gentleman put it here himself?" she asked. The answer, yes, this is how wolves show their love for their family. In this sense, Jacal is a very cool wolf, even if he seems very unperturbed. Kitty thinks the brothers are the same way. They are delighted. Does she really think so? Are they cool? Very cool, the girl thinks. Karis came to the table with the family book. She spread a sheet of paper on the table. With the permission of the head of the Gridwolf family, you can write someone's name there. Kitty picked up a pen. Should there be someone else on the document besides Teo and Dion? She wrote her name somehow. It came out beautifully, thinks Karis. She offered to sign the adoption papers. The lady handed the girl a new sheet of paper, asking her to read it all carefully and sign it. She noticed her own name mentioned there. What should she do? After all, she can't read anything except her own name. Karis apologizes with a smile. There are too many complicated words in the document. Of course, wolf cubs can't read at that age. The brothers still haven't learned. It is necessary to hire a teacher who will teach the girl everything, but the lady is ready to help and offers to read everything together. The document states that until the girl comes of age, she will be Kitty Gridwell. If Kitty wants to add something from herself, then let her speak up. The girl is afraid of the door handles in the form of wolf heads. Is it possible to replace their teeth with smaller ones? Jacal will order them to be rounded. The girl thanked him for this, and everything else suits her perfectly. She's very happy to find a new family. Will she sign the document or put her fingerprint on it? The brothers asked. With a print, Kitty answers. When she grows up, she promises to come up with a cool signature. Kitty has turned into a cat again. Karis asks her to make everything beautiful. And would it be better if the print had a claw? Asked the guest. Finally got the stamp. Now she's officially a kitty. Gridwolf. The mistress took her in her arms and will introduce her to everyone if the baby does not mind. Karis wants her to get used to it quickly before the mistress leaves. The girl wonders where the lady is going. To the wolf convention, she replies. It is a 10-day wolf convention that is currently in full swing. The sons sent for their mother. She was afraid that something terrible had happened and left the event in a hurry. Mr. Jacal finished and Karis had to go back. The lady was glad to have a girl in their family, but it was up to the adult lady to attend the meeting. That's how good it was. Karis didn't understand what the girl was talking about. Kitty was worried that the new mother had lost interest in her. Would the mistress return immediately after the event? Yes, Karis would do so. She would leave in the morning, so the child should not be frightened if she was not there. It's difficult, but Kitty will try, and Karis will try to find a teacher for the girl while she's at the meeting. There's just the right candidate there. They went to the balcony and looked down. How many wolves? Kitty was amazed. Karis reminded her, she's also a she-wolf. I completely forgot, the girl remembered. Lady does not understand why the little girl is surprised. Let her see how friendly everyone is looking at her. Kitty knew that everyone would treat her as a member of the Gridwolf family because she had the documents to do so. All the Karis employees would help the girl in everything. If something happened, she could turn to them. They went downstairs. Flora came first. This is the little girl's personal maid. It is an honor for her to serve the new she-wolf. Kitty greeted the maid in a formal tone, but the maid asked to address her in a simple manner. Then the butler Paul came over. Clinton, it's an honor to meet the wolf lady. Mina, the head of the kitchen, asked the girl to come to her more often because she's so skinny. The gardener brought flowers and will be glad to see a guest in the garden. Elliot also greeted her. He serves under Mr. Jacal. Kitty greeted him too. Behind the guy stood a fox. The girl saw such a representative of this tribe up close for the first time. They say most of them have magic. Kitty scares Clyd? Asked Karis. The boy gave his name, Clyd Foxstane. He may be a fox, but he is indebted to the Gridwolf family. He looked intently at the guest. And she is smaller than the fox thought. Is she really a wolf? The guy was asking directly. Kitty and Mrs. Karis looked warily at the persistent guy. Kitty has already talked about the greater sensitivity and insight of foxes than other creatures. What should the girl do? The guy noticed her cat ears. He's not an ordinary fox. Will she be exposed just like that? But then the little girl would be accused of deception and thrown out. She couldn't let that happen. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to take revenge. Kitty grabbed the fox's hand and pretended to kiss it. Elliot was horrified. He told Clyd that such rudeness was unacceptable. Everyone thought that the fox himself gave the girl his hand to kiss. He aimed a menacing look at the boy and Jackal. In the end, the fox apologized for the unforeseen incident. Kitty demands that he not do it again, and Clyd continued to listen to criticism from those around him for what happened. Teo worries that the fox scared the girl. Tam reassured her, everything is fine with her. Kitty wonders what a fox is doing in a wolf manor. Answer, they are currently endangered by leopards. That is why they are placed in different predator manors. Foxes are sensitive to magic, which is good for wolves. The girl knew that wolves and foxes did not get along as well as wolves and bears. Was the situation really that serious that the foxes had to turn to the wolves for help? Kitty decided to ask her teacher about everything. After the introduction, Karis brought the already familiar Mrs. Lena to her daughter. The mistress hopes that the maid will take care of the baby. The maid is happy to see the girl again. Lena Gray is now Kitty's assistant. So will she be around? Kitty asks. If she wishes, she can call the maid by name, Lena suggests. The girl is happy about this, and the maid is pleased with the girl's kindness. Karis announced the need to go to bed. The boys wish the baby good night. The maid leads Kitty to the bedroom. When they arrived, the young guest saw rounded teeth on the door handles. If she bites, it won't hurt. Kitty had just climbed onto the bed, but Lena picked her up. Are they going swimming? Asked the worried girl. Yes, I have to go to bed clean, answered the maid. The girl is angry she has to get into the water, which will make her hair fluffy. They can't bathe tomorrow, the maid asks. No, tomorrow people will come to try on the girl's clothes. After all, they say that cleanliness is the basis of hospitality. Kitty is surprised. The outfits are for her. And also the girl's hair needs to be trimmed to choose the right headdress. There's no time for this now, so it needs to be done tomorrow morning. In the bathroom, the little girl saw many beautiful bubbles. From today on, Kitty will only bathe in this water. Her brothers specially got out the bath foam. The guest of the estate climbed into the water. Lena does not understand what the smell is around. Kitty asks the maid to help her wash faster. After the water procedures, the maid put Kitty to bed and asked her to fall asleep quickly. The pupil wants to ask something, but the maid says it is too late for questions. The girl wants to know the answer. She wonders what happened to the foxes that they ended up in the wolf manor. The girl is young and will hardly understand, Lena answered. She suggests asking the teacher when he shows up. Kitty asks the maid to tell her a little, but Lena has no right to do that. She's very stubborn, thought Kitty about the maid. Lena is ready to sing a lullaby for her pupil, and she sang about a goddess with a bow and beautiful hair whose carriage is pulled by cats. Approached Clyd. He reminded him of the need to become stronger in order to gain independence. The fox knew this, but simply understanding it would not make him grow. Clyd knew his role in the function of restoring the fox faction that was destroyed that day. But until he achieved power, his people would continue to suffer. The boy did not like living among wolves. But if the leopards use the power of the blue moon, the foxes will suffer first and foremost because of their sensitivity to magic. They will not be let go so easily, given their greater knowledge of magic among all creatures. Gridwolf family must understand that once the situation improves, the foxes will definitely regain their position. Clyd thought they were looking for profit in every relationship. He was sure that all the servants noticed that the little one was a cat. Clyd had no idea about Cat's fear of foxes. The boy found it so funny he couldn't stop thinking about it. The boy started talking about her. The servant caught it right away. The wolves adopted her? Why? Gridwolf never do anything for nothing. The reason is her cute. The gentlemen have only 2 sons. Kitty came to the castle in a terrible state. Most likely, they simply felt sorry for the girl. Everyone talks about her soft hands, but Jackal Gridwolf wasn't the type to do anything out of compassion. What if she was connected to the blue moon? Clyd thought about it. When Kitty woke up in the morning, Lena came in to see her. She greeted the girl and noted her early rise. Usually wolves sleep a lot. According to the little girl, she is no longer a child. All that remains is to meet the Tooth Fairy and eventually become an official adult. Kitty's room, the girl asks to eat with her, but Lena has already had breakfast and the little mistress must eat a lot. Today's menu includes salmon fillet, bacon, vanilla muffins, warm milk, tarts, pies, and other desserts. The girl is amazed by such a selection. According to Lena, she needs to eat a lot. If there's enough sweet, then let her eat meat and drink milk. Kitty remembered how at the Gerrian estate they didn't feed those who didn't work. She had to work there from the age of 3 to avoid starving to death. The poor thing had no days off and she wasn't paid. But then Kitty couldn't complain because she had an easier job than other cats. One day, Gerrian demanded that Kitty touch a stone and asked, "Does she feel something special?" But the girl didn't feel anything. The villain realized that they were wrong again. He is the little girl's main enemy. Kitty will definitely take revenge on Gerrian when she becomes big and strong. The girl had breakfast and the maid offered to cut her hair. Kitty reminded the maid of her own words. She wanted to cut off the bad locks. But how much? If Lena cuts off all the damaged hair, the girl will be left without any at all. If you trim the ends and style them, it will look good. The maid decided to cut it off little by little as the hair grows. A short hairstyle will not suit Kitty because of its thickness. The girl used to have short hair. In the morning, she always looked like a mushroom. Finally, Lena finished. Kitty looked at herself in the mirror. She thanks her assistant, and now she feels at ease. Lena will tie up her charge's hair beautifully. Until the new clothes arrive, she can play with it for now. Wolf cubs must run a lot to strengthen their muscles. The maid is interested in how Kitty played before. Most often they sat on the wall and soaked up the sun, Kitty answered. Lena praised her pupil for sunbathing. And what else did they do? That's all. They tried not to run and not to move much because they could get hungry. Grid Wolf Castle, so let the girl run as much as she wanted. When she got hungry, let her go to the kitchen. She would eat there and run again. The girl was wearing a dress bought in a hurry, but today a man will arrive who will sew many beautiful outfits. Kitty considers today's clothes good. Why buy more if there are enough things? Lena reported that the Wolf family allocated a huge budget for the purchase of things for the young lady. The corresponding amount can be spent on the costumes of gentlemen Teo and Dayon. The girl reminded her that she was adopted and that a lot of money was being spent on her. The maid thought that everyone would be delighted, not to mention the Gridwolf family. Will Mrs. Karras like Kitty? She asked her assistant. Lena suggested that her ward go and ask the mistress of the estate herself. She was just getting ready to leave. The girl reminded her mistress of her intention to leave early in the morning. Yes, but for wolf cubs, early time is 9 in the morning. Kitty asks the assistant to point out the place where Karras is now. And in front of the carriage, the lady instructed her sons to take care of Kitty and stop calling her soft hands. The hero of the occasion approached them at this time. Karras asked the little girl, "Always wakes up early," she answered, and she came here for the opportunity to see her mistress. Karras hugs Kitty and promises to return soon. She asks her to behave well and thanks her for coming. The girl wishes her stepmother a good trip. Karras asked Jakal to take care of their daughter. The couple kissed. Outraged, Kitty ran up and took her place behind the brother's father. "Isn't this the line for a kiss?" She smiled. The stepmother hugged the girl again. If she were older, she would have taken her away with her. The carriage drove away, and everyone waved to the departing mistress. The servant asks Mr. Jakal where to put the Blue Moon replica they bought the other day. The wolf asks to leave it in his room. Kitty became wary at these words. She remembered how Gerrian had asked her to bring another blue moonstone. Jakal looked at the little girl. "Does he want to tell her something?" the ward asked. "The gentleman is interested in today's schedule." The girl was happy. He paid attention to her. A snack was waiting for her soon. Lena asked the little girl to play then and then to appear for a fit-in. Kitty has to play again until dinner, then eat, and after that, a bath with ducks and sleep. And Mr. Jakale is busy all day today. The sons told him that the girl gets scared when he talks like that. According to Teo, Their father is kind and gentle, so if Kitty doesn't understand, he will explain it to her again. Is he very busy? Asks the little girl. He will spend the whole day in the office, the gentleman's answer. In this way, he says that Kitty can come to him at any time and play, and the little one decided to definitely come. Lena calls her to eat some tasty things. The pupil is not hungry. She will walk around the estate for now. The brothers are ready to give her a tour. The girl agrees, but they need to go and change first. The boys agree with their sister. The maid asked the young lady not to forget about the Kitten after lunch. The boys went to eat. The brothers decided to show her the buildings adjacent to the estate first. Soon they got to the banquet hall, where everyone eats when different guests arrive. Kitty is delighted. Everything looks very cool and expensive. She also saw a dance floor. Dion warned Soft Hands. After a while, she will have to dance with him. But Teo is older. He thinks that he will dance first. The brothers started arguing, especially since Teo couldn't dance. Kitty asked the boys to calm down, and they went on. Then the girl saw the garden and was amazed. It was bigger than the entire territory of cats. The brothers promised to explore only the eastern part of the garden today. When the girl asked what was there, they answered roses and sunflowers, and also huge fruit trees. This is the favorite place for the chefs and bakers of the estate. The girl saw a lot of strawberries. The guys suggested that she not only smell the berries, but taste them. Kitty is glad that she can do this. She appreciated the taste of the berries. The brothers suggested eating as many strawberries as she wanted since she liked that one. Can you eat so many? Kitty doesn't believe. Of course, the main thing is that Philip the gardener doesn't notice. Suddenly, the gardener came up from behind and greeted the boys. Has the lady eaten strawberries? He asked. She shook her head in despair. Apparently, yes, and the lady is upset because the strawberries are not so tasty now. Philip believes. The girl doesn't think so. The berry is very sweet and tasty. The gardener is curious. Does that mean they ate it after all? He hands the little girl a basket full of strawberries and offers to eat them all. The worker is glad that the lady liked them. Kitty thanked the gardener, and he asked her to come again. The guys think it's cool to be a gardener. The girl hopes to do similar work in the estate later. The brothers are not against it. If a girl wears an apron, everyone will just look at her, says Dion. The little girl believes that her job will not consist of just being nice. The brothers agree with this. They added, then she would have to work overtime. According to the guys, the most important thing for their sister now is to eat and sleep a lot. And when she grows up, she will definitely become cool. Finally, they came to a large memorial. Kitty wondered whose grave it was. The brothers corrected Emma Gilly in another place, and this is a monument to the fallen wolves. The memorial lists the names of those who fell victim to the Blue Moon curse. Kitty prays for the dead and hopes they're all happy where salmon fillets float in the rivers. A carriage drove into the yard. It seems that people have arrived for a fitting. The boys decided to finish their tour of the garden. The girl's legs hurt. It seems that it is because of the existing injuries. Kitty reassured the guys, everything is fine, she can continue walking. Teo and Dayon ask not to deceive them. If she is very tired, she will not try on all the dresses. Dion will help the girl. He turned into a huge wolf and asks the little girl not to be afraid. She is afraid. Is the beast really Dayon's brother? She asked Teo. Kitty was seated on the predator's back. She wonders why he is so huge. When a certain level of mana is reached, Dayon in wolf form can increase in size proportionally to his strength. The boy's father has a lot of mana, so he can easily become a huge predator. The girl thought, if she studies hard, she will be able to grow to such sizes. They headed to the palace. The masters of clothing were already entering. They were informed about the imminent arrival of the gentleman. Before Gridwolf arrives, we should start, suggested a girl who was in the group of specialists. A smiling young golden-haired guy agreed with her. Lena is sure the girl had a nice walk. But it's a pity that Mrs. Karras isn't here now, because she knows her way around clothes perfectly. Kitty asks, won't the maid go with her? Yes, the maid will keep her young mistress company and help her. Lena can still understand clothes, but she knows nothing about expensive jewelry. The brothers couldn't come to the girl. Elliot was walking towards them in the corridor. The gentlemen greeted each other. Kitty wondered, was Mr. Jacal also busy with work? The knight was walking towards him, but he didn't know if he was busy. The guy was sure that the owner was working now. Elliot doesn't understand why the girl is looking for Mr. Jacal. She's going to a fitting, and the owner is very nice, and Kitty could use his help in choosing new clothes. It's a crayfish's fate that the boss will take part in something like this. Elliot smiled as he said this, but promised to pass everything on to the gentleman. The little girl thanked him and went into the room where the designers were waiting for her. They greeted Mrs. Gray Point. The guests introduced themselves. They are the Vila couple and they create clothes. For those who came, most of them wanted to create outfits for Mrs. Karras. They were wrongly informed, but they are not here today to sew outfits for Karras. Kitty is sure that she was simply not noticed due to the small stature of the baby. The guests reported about the order to create outfits for Lady Gridwolf. Lena turned to the girl and asked her to introduce herself to the guests. Kitty introduced herself and announced her adoption by the Gridwolf family. Everyone in the room fell silent. Kitty did not like this atmosphere. The fashion designer called the baby beautiful and promised to do everything to select outfits. Her husband also promised to do his best at work if his wife said so. For them, it's a big deal. The guests ask permission to call the hostess Lady Kitty. She agrees. In the woman's opinion, the girl is like a living doll. Kitty was delighted with the presented clothes. She shared her impressions with the maid. The Vela couple sewed different costumes and dresses for dolls as a hobby. To create clothes, they use real jewelry and expensive fabrics. According to the girl, doll outfits will fit her in size. Lena said, "The craftsman will give these clothes to try on." Mrs. Vela asked the little lady if she had a style she liked. What about trousers? The designer had heard that it was fashionable for ladies to have riding clothes made to order. This outfit is comfortable for everyday wear, but it will be difficult for the girl to hide the tail if it suddenly pops out. Mrs. Vela Kitty has confessed her love for frilly skirts. The designer has various fabric options with her. The girl can look at them. If she likes something, Mrs. Vela will be able to choose a suitable dress. Kitty's favorite color is also important to the designer. Kitty likes the color of ripe peach. The designer smiled at these words and suddenly touched the baby's hands. The lady was delighted with their softness. White lace gloves or knitted ones from yarn will look good on them. Meanwhile, the brothers complained to their father that he had forced them to study while he himself went to watch Kitty's fitting. His answer, when they get married, they will have their own daughters. And then the girl herself came into their office. Mrs. Vela decided to definitely let the little girl try on gloves. After a while, Kitty was looking at accessories in the hall. The saleswoman suggested that she try on a hat. This lady reminded the little girl of Jerian. Kitty noted the beauty of the hat, but thought it was more suitable for adults. The seller asked to try it on again. The hat would definitely fit a girl in size. She put it on the young lady's head. How beautiful. According to the salesgirl, Kitty has exquisite taste. She goes on to praise, the gemstone on the hat is a very fine pink peridot. It makes the cost of the headdress a little more expensive. The saleswoman showed a check with many zeros. She suggested that the little girl go to Mrs. Gray and tell her about the things she liked. The girl is sure that the Gridwolf family will not spare a penny for their daughter. The seller continued to praise the stone, calling it unique and rare. You can't find it anywhere else. This decoration is appropriate for the wolf family, and by adding a couple of feathers, even a mouse will feel like a Gridwolf. Kitty looked at the hat carefully. Did the girl realize she wasn't a wolf? And even if she did, was she still trying to sell her jewelry? The seller was willing to give her a discount and remove the zero from the price because of the girl's cuteness. She admits that the amount named earlier is too high. Kitty thanks, but suggests the seller to remove 3 more zeros. She is confused. The little girl knows the hat is just painted glass, not a jewel. Therefore, the villain does not need to talk about the desire to make a discount, allegedly because of the girl's charm. Elliot has already taken the seller away, and she denied that she is a fraud. This woman has no idea what kind of work Kitty did at Jerian's house. Jerian was involved in exchanging accessories with beautifully decorated fake stones for similar ones with worn but real jewelry. In Jerian's business, Kitty was responsible for identifying precious stones. One day, she handed her boss a stone, and she was amazed at the girl's ability to distinguish real stones from fakes. The little girl herself was perplexed by such an ability. Probably that is why she was the only one doing this work. And after all this, Jerian kicked her and her mother out because the little girl took some food. She doesn't understand why he collected all this money then? Mrs. Lena came up and asked the lady, did something happen? The girl reassured her, no, she just wanted to try on the outfits as soon as possible. Kitty tried on the first outfit first. Elliot appreciated. Now he understands the knights who have been calling the girl cute for several days. And Jakal regretted that Karis does not see all this. The brothers complimented the girl on her appearance. Kitty looked at herself in the mirror. Beautiful and comfortable. According to Mrs. Lena, the new frilly outfit was inspired by a giant pumpkin. Then Kitty tried on a dress with a pink tint. Everyone looked at her mysteriously. The little girl thought the outfit didn't suit her, but it was a beautiful thing for her. She lacked the shoes and hairpins. Kitty, to have such a dress. Jackal. I wonder if this is the dress the girl liked the most. Kitty tried on many outfits. Now she has to choose something. She liked the pink dress the most. The brothers are also delighted. Teo praised his father for a good choice of excellent design. It was decided to move all the things to Kitty's wardrobe because she would get tired of trying on everything. The girl was surprised. They want to buy everything? Kitty turned to Mr. Jackal. She will grow up faster than she will have time to wear all the dresses. Then we can sew the same ones, he answered. The girl has appreciated all the dresses. Is it possible? The owner asked Mrs. Vela. Sure, how about a set of outfits for the whole family? The designer suggests wearing them for a group portrait. Karis would like that, says Mr. Jackal. Mrs. Vela, sew 5 sets for each family member. The girl received a positive answer and calculated the amount with several zeros on the check. Jackal saw a figure that was different from his planned budget, but he will buy everything prepared today. Are all the pieces genuine? A question from the owner of the estate. The designer assures their goods are not like those of the swindler who tried to sell a fake. She personally vouches for each item. That's all. The gentleman left the room, and the designers bowed to them. Kitty thanked all of her people for coming. Jackal wondered if the girl had eaten today. The answer, yes, strawberries and cookies. Now the little girl asks the gentleman about his food, but he has already had a snack and must go to the office. The brothers whispered to Kitty that their father will spend the whole day there. There is a certain object in his classroom that she will appreciate. Kitty came up to Jackal and asked to play in his office. He picked up the girl and took her with him. He promised Elliot to talk later about the Blue Moon replica. The knight does not object and wishes the young lady a good day. When they got to the office, it seemed different to the little girl. The gentleman pointed to the bed where the brothers had once slept. He asked if she wanted to eat. The answer, no, but if she was hungry, she would let me know. The little girl has many questions for the gentleman, and he noted the girl's lightness. Kitty promises not to overeat so that she can fit into the outfits that were bought for her today from the Vela masters longer. They approached the bookcase. Mr. Jackal suggested measuring the guest's height first and then asking questions. The girl thought the brothers often played in the study. She considers herself not as short as she seems at first glance. Kitty took off her shoes and stood on her toes. Mr. Jackal asks her not to do that. She won't get taller from holding her breath. They finally took her measurements. Kitty is the same height as Teo and Dayon at 4 years old. Kitty was completely shocked by this. Then she sat down at the table and began to look at the pictures in the book. She noticed a chest. Was this the stone Sir Elliot had spoken of this morning? A replica of the Blue Moon? Jackal might have shown the girl if it had been something else, but it was a cursed gem. Kitty was confused. She had clearly been looking too hard at the chest. She wondered if it was dangerous. For Kitty, is it possible that the stone will have a negative effect on her? According to Jerian, it is an imitation created by extracting some of the magic from the Blue Moon gemstone. If it doesn't cause any side effects to the girl, then maybe it's because of Kitty's special condition. The girl was surprised, but it could be a simple guess. Kitty remembered her late mother's words about her daughter having a special power. Was her father's name Icarus? Jackal asked. Yes, and her brother's too, the little girl answered. According to the gentleman, it is a common name. Jackal thinks it's best if Kitty doesn't tell anyone about her powers, but the girl doesn't even know what kind of power she has. It doesn't matter whether she knows about it or not, and whether she's good at handling the power. If people find out about something special, they will try to get it, and if they can't, they will try to destroy it, says Mr. Jacal. He asks the little lady not to tell anyone about it. The girl wonders if the gentleman knows anything about the baby's father, but he can't say anything for sure right now. Kitty wants to hear at least a little about the parent. The man looked at Kitty and wiped her tears. Jacal promises to tell her when she grows up, but for now she is too young for such stories. The girl believes him. The gentleman still decides to tell her a little, because he sees impatience in the little girl. She heard the song about the goddess, the lullaby about cats pulling a carriage. Kitty clarified, yes, the blue stone in the necklace she wears in the song is Blue Moon. It causes half-beasts to lose their minds and go mad. Kitty is scared to see the imitation of this terrible stone in front of her. Jacal asks her not to be afraid, as he placed it in a special box chest that blocks its magic. The girl is sure that her fear was visible. The gentleman promises to continue the investigation to obtain more information, but he knows of a rich man named Icarus who has been researching the blue moon. Kitty has heard a lot from her mother that her father and brother were heroes, but this is the first time she hears about their studies of the legendary gemstone. She doesn't understand why her father started this. Kitty had to be smarter to figure this out. She had to grow up and hear the story about her father. After a while, she noticed that Mr. Jacal was working without being distracted. After all, several hours had passed. He looks cool when he works. Kitty wants to see Mrs. Karras at her work. The gentleman looked at the girl. She doesn't understand. She realized that her cat ears were sticking out. Now she'll hide them. I would bite, said Mr. Jacal. Kitty was almost scared by this phrase. The man explained, in their family they say this about those who look cute. Crazy wolves, thought Kitty. She doesn't understand how such an expression can be used, but now the girl is a wolf cub. But the master said so because he really thinks she's cute. She doesn't mind if he bites her once. Kitty wanted to hear praise like a wolf. But Jacal looked at the girl sweetly. She understood. He was not going to bite her ears. Kitty laughed, but the gentleman did not understand the reason for these emotions. The girl was happy all this time. She was very interested in talking to Mr. Jacal. By night he was tired and almost fell asleep. He looked at the brother's bed. Kitty was sleeping there in the form of a cat. Jacal had never seen a cat in his life. Are they all like that? He looked at the girl. They say that the goddess who created the world rode in a cart pulled by cats. The animals that the goddess stroked were immune to magic. Icarus being passed down through the generations, Jacal assured Kitty that it was a common name, as she was hiding her identity. Icarus is not a common name, and the last one, Icarus, died in the lands of the bears. The girl is so small, but she may be the key to everything. Is this God's providence or not? But soon Kitty woke up, returned to her human form, and came to her bedroom. Mrs. Lena wondered if she had a good time. The answer, yes, she took a nap in Mr. Jacal's office. She told about the gift from the gentleman in the form of a picture book, and Jacal is a very kind person. The servant came in and brought a letter for Miss Kitty Gridwolf. The girl and the maid looked at the message in surprise. Then Kitty came into the room where the brothers were doing their homework. Softpaws showed up because she missed the boys? Dion asks. The little one wanted to study here with them. There was a bit of a commotion in the auditorium, but the brothers let her in. Teo also wants to join them. Dayon asks, what does the little one plan to study? She reported receiving a letter from Lady Karras. The girl wants to learn how to write letters to create invitations later. Before that, Mrs. Lena read her a letter from the hostess. In it, she allowed Gray to familiarize Kitty with the message. In the letter, Karras wrote how she told everyone else at the meeting about the new member of their family, Kitty. Everyone wants to see the girl. In connection with this, Karras is thinking of organizing a tea party to introduce the little one. If the girl doesn't mind, Karras asks her to write an invitation to a tea party for the Wee-Wee's family. It's okay if the letters are crooked, because Kitty hasn't started learning yet. It's not necessary to use complicated words. The lady will be very pleased if the girl writes about the invitation with all sincerity. Is she planning a tea party? Asked Dayon. Lady Karras has made instructions for her. answered the girl. The brothers suggested starting with basic letters. She tries to write. Yes, it is difficult for her to learn letters, and she feels that her tail will cramp later. Dayon praises her for writing and suggests practicing with difficult letters. Kitty doesn't mind. If she practices a lot, she will be able to write even more beautifully. Someday, the little girl will write a long letter for them, too. Dion asks his sister to try drawing new symbols. Kitty didn't know anything about this sentence, and it's not hard because she learns quickly. Teo didn't understand that her brother was making the little girl write. He came up and read, "Brother Dayon is the best." He's angry about it. I turned to Kitty. "Brother Teo is the best. Also works well for writing practice." The guys praised the girl. She is doing well. It is not as crooked as they initially thought. Kitty promises to practice and write better. That's right. Her brothers are going on a trip, so the girl needs to learn to write letters, said Dayon. And where are they going and far? The young lady wonders. Dion didn't want to leave his sister. Teo said the purpose of the trip, when wolves reach a certain age, they leave to learn to fight. But that's still a long way off. Kitty promises to learn to write quickly. By the time the brothers leave, Kitty will also have grown up and will be able to write long letters. The boys ask not to forget to put a stamp with a soft paw on each message so that there is no doubt about its authorship. That would be a good idea. It would be immediately clear whose letter it is. Kitty wonders what they do at a tea party. It's held to make new acquaintances and communicate, answered Dion. They will drink tea in a place like a greenhouse with flowers. Since they will be introducing Kitty for the first time, they can even have dinner with the guests. And after the meal, there is sometimes dancing. The baby loves to dance. Teo suggested holding a tea party training. The boys will ask the kitchen to prepare lots of goodies. It's okay if they don't finish their homework today. And what about training? Kitty asks Dot. But the brothers took care of that this morning. They took Kitty by the hands and led her into the greenhouse, where they sat down at the table. The girl looked at the cakes and drinks with a hungry look. Teo asks not to stare so openly at the food at the upcoming tea party. Should she hold back even if the snacks smell delicious? Kitty asked. That's right, food is just an addition to tea, and tea is made for the sake of conversation, Teo said. The girl understood. Conversation is the most important part. The boys praised the girl for her intelligence. They suggested starting the process. During the molting period when the fur falls out, they don't forget to comb their hair, do they? The little girl asks. It is very shameful to make fun of other ladies at the reception, Lady Dion, said Teo to his brother. He was surprised by such words, but he apologized to Lady Kitty for her rude laugh at those who were younger. Also, at tea parties, you are not allowed to treat Kitty like a child, says the girl. She will not allow you to touch her hands either. The brothers are sorry. They ask not to be angry. Teo thanks the lady for the reception. Did you write the beautiful invitation yourself? Yes, she wrote them, says the girl. She asked the children if they had seen the soft paw seal inside. To get a beautiful seal, Kitty applied aromatic oil to her palm every evening. Kitty is glad that the guys liked it. Teo asks the lady not to show too much emotion or chatter when drinking tea. What if her wolf ears pop out at the reception? The girl asked Dion. The brother allowed this development of events. He suggested putting a hat on the girl, but it might move, the little girl thinks. Then everyone will think that she hid a bird's nest there. Others won't show their ears, Kitty believes. Large wolves only show their ears when they are very excited, the brother said. Predators show their ears when they meet a lifelong partner. Yes, wolves choose a partner for life. That would be incredibly cute, Kitty exclaimed. She wondered who would fall in love with her. Every wolf should be afraid of that thought. The brothers were frightened. They must not allow such misfortunes to happen, especially Iden Wee-Wee's. He should not under any circumstances. And the latter sat in the office, read the contents of the sheet of paper, and did not know who was thinking about him. The girl doesn't know who Iden is. The brothers say she'll meet him at a tea party. He's also a wolf, but a couple of years younger than them. The only son of the Wee-Wee's family, such a moron, Dayon called him rudely. Kitty had never heard this insult before, but her brothers asked her to forget it. As it turns out, there was a history between the three wolf lords that the girl did not know about. Gridwold and Wee-Wee's are friends with each other, so Teo, Dayon, and Iden got along great. One day, the brothers noticed the boy reading a book without pictures, finding it boring. The boys came to play with him, but the child was always absorbed in the books. Aiden is very smart. He even read difficult books. But the constant visits of his brothers distracted the boy. He could not be friends with stupid wolves. And these words did not please Theo and Dion. They were angry at the intellectual. But now the brothers felt that they were worrying in vain about Aiden's possible love for Kitty, but the others also shouldn't fall in love with a girl, and the son of the Wee-Wees clan especially. Mrs. Lena came up and announced Karis's return. All three ran to the carriage to meet the mistress of the estate. Jacal stood first, waiting, followed by Kitty. The gentleman looked at her questioningly. She waits for her turn and never pushes ahead of others, explained the little girl. But Jacal let her pass with a smile. The girl hugged her mistress. She's glad that her favorite has arrived from the wolf meeting. Karis was no less happy to see the girl. She asked if she had a good time. Kitty told her how she had been practicing tea drinking with her brothers. But then they found out that the mistress had arrived and ran to the carriage. Karis also wanted to bite the girl. She was surprised by this strange habit again. The lady hugged the little girl and told her about the gift prepared for her. The servants were already opening the roof of the box. Kitty appreciated the box and thought it was cozy and comfortable inside. Karis lifted the girl up and showed her the contents of the box. As soon as she saw everything, the lady immediately thought of the baby. The box contained books and lots of crayons. The girl was delighted. "Does she like it?" asked Karis. The baby would not be with them for long, but she would not have to borrow her brother's drawing supplies. Kitty thanked for the gift. She chooses peach-colored pencils, and wolf-colored, the color of the sky, and the color of grass. "And don't you like the others?" Karis asks. "Why, they are all beautiful," the little girl answered. Kitty had a hard time choosing everything, so the lady offered her to take everything. She was amazed. According to the mistress, Teo and Dion already have crayons. The girl thinks that the lady spent a lot of money. Teo asks her not to worry, they have enough money so she can take all the pencils with her. Her mother made her such a gift so that the little one would study diligently. Kitty promises to study hard. And as for studying, the ladies have found a teacher for their pupil. He will attend the tea party. "Will the teacher come to meet you?" the girl asks. According to Karis, there is one extremely smart wolf cub in the Wee-Wees family who are their friends. The lady hopes that Kitty will learn a lot from her. Mama doesn't mean Aiden, does she? The brothers worry. She had said about him, "This guy is smart, has a calm character." Therefore, Karis is sure that he will become not only a good teacher, but also a friend for their little girl. Teo almost insulted the boy from the Wee-Wees family, but his mother stopped him and asked him to watch his language. Teo thinks Aiden is the kind of guy who only thinks he's better than other kids. What if Aiden bullies Kitty? Soft Hands will be upset. The brothers were worried about the girl. Karis reminded that not much time had passed since Aiden lost his mother. When wolves lose someone they love, thorns appear on their bodies like roses, and so they unconsciously push others away, and they are afraid of losing someone else again. The boys thought about it. So Aiden was rude to them. Was that really a thoughtful gesture on his part? The mother is sure that the boys know better than anyone that the boy is not a bad wolf, and many can agree with them. Kitty didn't know what Aiden was like, but she was sure of one thing: she couldn't appear stupid in front of him. He would probably be able to teach the little girl something. But would Kitty be able to resist his wolfish nature? Will the girl be able to match the wolf's level? She clearly should have started learning earlier. "What are you thinking about?" the brothers asked the little girl. She wants to start the learning process as soon as possible. Kitty asks the boys, are they capable of teaching her anything? Of course, they have been poring over books so that Aiden could not call them stupid again. Mother asks Dion to watch his language. Tea day came. Mrs. Lena was combing Kitty and announced that Hogwood would be visiting them today. Wee-Wee's with his son Aiden. The boy's mother died 4 years ago due to rampage by leopards. In life, she was an excellent strategist and commanded an entire wolf squad. Aiden inherited his mother's intelligence and is often referred to as a fox. 4 years ago, the second rampage of leopards occurred. Kitty was little then, so she doesn't remember anything. but she heard about the tragedy from her parents' conversations. The predators bit off the girl's tail. Even now, Kitty, who has lost part of her tail, still gnashes her teeth at the thought of leopards. How much does Iden, who lost his mother, hate them? As much as the disdainful Jerry and Kitty? The little girl asks the maid to tie her hair up higher, so that the wolf ears are hidden behind the hair, even if they come out. Soon the whole Gridwolf family is greeting the arriving guests. The arrival of the Hogwood gentleman has been announced. Wee-wees and Iden. Kitty didn't understand the meaning of profit. Maybe it meant that she would definitely be eaten this time? She was cute. The brothers explained that this meant that guests were coming. They went to greet the guests. Soon the girl was standing in front of Wee-wees the elder. She must be the little girl Karis had spoken of. The girl was surprised. He was bigger than Mr. Jacal. Kitty bowed to the guest, introduced herself, mentioning that she was the adopted daughter of the Gridwolf family. Hogwood was delighted with the girl. He found her charming. Scared of something like that and still calls himself a wolf, said someone behind the guest. The guys looked at this person with distrust. It was Iden who said this wee-wees. He looked at them as coldly as at their first meeting. Kitty is sure that Iden does not have the best opinion of the girl. Iden greeted Mr. Jacal and Mrs. Karras. He inquired about the affairs of the owners of the estate. The gentleman looked at the little guest kindly. Except for the decision to take Kitty, everything was as usual. Iden heard the news about the family's intention to take the girl under temporary guardianship. Kitty is angry. Did he specifically emphasize the word temporary? She will not ask the gentleman to think of her as a real member of the family. The baby is already grateful for the food and protection here. Iden wants to rest a little. She feels a little dizzy from reading in the carriage. The host asked the butler, Paul, to show the important guest to the guest room. Hogwood apologized to the girl for her son. He can be clumsy. Kitty understands everything. The boy must have this because he's not feeling well. The girl is really a brave wolf cub, as Karis said. Hogwood admires. The man extended his hand and introduced himself, albeit late. He was stunned when he touched Kitty's hands. She was sure she liked them. Her nickname is Soft Paws, Jacal said. It suits her perfectly, Hogwood was sure. According to the guest, the lord of the estate also likes this nickname. He remembered his wife. When she was alive, Iden was also kind and gentle. Previously, he got along with Teo and Dion, but then he hid his heart from everyone. After the death of his wife, Hogwood tried to be closer to his son. The guest believes that due to his frequent absences from home, the boy prefers not to rely on his parent. Iden lost his mother when he was even younger than Kitty, she realized. The boy doesn't like being around people, but he came here because of Kitty? The father agrees that his son avoids communication more than before, but it was he who asked Iden to become the young lady's mentor. The leopards are on the move again. Hogwood needs to get going again now. The father has informed his son of the need to leave the mansion for a long time. Iden has therefore decided to become Kitty's teacher and live in Gridwolf. For Iden, the mentor position was a good opportunity. It turned out that he had no reason to look so coldly at Kitty. Karis offered the little one to lead the children's table. It was just that there was still a long time before dinner, so they would have tea now. Kitty knew that now was not the time to frown. She needed to get ready for a delicious tea party. Kitty walked through the garden holding her hat. If her cat ears popped out in front of Iden again, he would laugh at the girl again. She saw 3 maids, Flora, Batty, and Hannah. She greeted them. The maids are delighted to see the young mistress. They thank her for remembering their names. They compliment Kitty on her good memory. Will the brothers and Iden come too? Asked the little girl. Butler Paul confirmed that young Master Iden would also be joining. It seems his condition has improved. The girl wishes to help the maids prepare for tea with the boys. The women try to dissuade her. They can handle it themselves. Kitty continued to insist. Iden stood nearby and watched what was happening. The cat is seriously staying in the wolf's estate, he thought. A weak creature will inevitably become a burden to a stronger one. Once a warrior reported to Hogwood his wife's body was badly damaged. Therefore, they must postpone the funeral for a few more days. Iden's mother then went too far into the enemy camp and lost in a fight with leopards. Hogwood did not object because it was the wife's decision to protect her son. Kitty saw Iden. When did he come? She asked. With her abilities, she wouldn't have noticed, the boy answered. The little girl is glad to have the opportunity to be educated by Wee Wee's Jr., and the young master is definitely not happy. Does he not like her? No, he just doesn't find her interesting. It is obvious to him that such a weak person as Kitty will become a hindrance to the whole pack. Will she be under the wolf's care until she comes of age? Iden clarified. He urges his new acquaintance to behave quietly and not cause problems. Only in this way will Kitty be able to save her own life. Kitty admitted that she doesn't want to live like that. Right now, she has a broken tooth, her pronunciation is poor, and she is also very thin, but she will definitely become stronger. And when that happens, she will definitely avenge her mother with her own hands. Iden turned around in amazement and looked at his interlocutor. So she showed up at the Gridwolf family and pretended to be a wolf, although she was actually a cat? Now it was Kitty's turn to look at the boy in surprise. What is he talking about? The girl is a real wolf cub. Iden thinks Kitty has taken him for a fool. The little girl didn't understand how the boy guessed about her feline nature. Smelled a cat? No, if that were the case, then everyone else would have realized who Kitty was. Then the brothers were right. Iden really is a genius. He managed to do what even the leader of the wolves couldn't do. Iden demands an answer. Why did she come to Gridwolf's domain, pretend to be a wolf, and agree to temporary adoption? And the girl told about her desire to avenge her own mother. Kitty's goal is to take revenge for her mother and younger brothers. Iden didn't understand who they were talking about. They were babies in their mother's womb, the girl explained. She's sure the kids would have been cute if they were born. The boy suggests that his interlocutor return to the lands of cats and live openly. If she did so, she would be forced to hide in the forest or mountains. The mother would not want that. Iden doesn't understand how Kitty can know the opinion of a dead creature. The girl touched her chest. Every night her mother hugged her tightly, and the daughter heard her heartbeat. Isn't it wonderful? To remember someone's heartbeat as if it were their voice. Kitty can't go back and live in hiding. If she's unhappy, so will her family in heaven. She told about the Gridwolf family holding a farewell ceremony for the girl's deceased. They promised to take care of her until she grows up. That's why Kitty is going to grow up here. Iden seemed completely different to the girl now. Kitty grabbed the boy's hands. So he would tell Gridwolf about the baby's feline origin. The boy had no such intentions. Iden's job is to teach the girl the basics in exchange for living in the castle. Why would he want to bother him? Kitty didn't seem to like her. That's right, the girl is really just a weak kitten. If Mr. Iden had kicked Kitty out, she wouldn't have lasted long before the little one was eaten by leopards. But in that case, the boy wouldn't be able to stay in the mansion either. Is she threatening him now? Asked Iden. The answer, no. The boy suggested that his interlocutor hurry up with the preparations. After all, the time had already come. Teo and Dayon were already rushing towards them. They are interested in their sister's preparations. And Iden left early on purpose to bother the girl. She denies everything. The guest was very kind to her. He chuckled quietly. The brothers did not believe and thought that the little girl was threatened by the young genius. No, he's her teacher, the girl says. The brothers stubbornly assumed that Softpaw was threatened by Iden. Just let him dare to do something to their baby. Whatever he's thinking about, it's forbidden. She may be temporary, but she's their sister. The four of them were drinking tea at the table. Teo asked Kitty to tell about the desserts she had prepared, and the girl mentioned an egg tart, very tasty if you dip it in milk. And this is a cream puff that melts in your mouth. Iden seemed to like the baby milk very much. Dion explained that his sister was still a little wolf cub, so it was normal for her to consume this product. A noble wolf should not embarrass a lady. Their overtired Softpaw is a beautiful lady. Just let everyone look at her cute hat. Tired? Doesn't she just play and eat? Asked the guest. The girl wanted Jacal to help her in this situation, and the gentleman did indeed get up and come to the children's table. Iden is enjoying the tea and desserts that their daughter prepared, he asked. Kitty may make mistakes. She is still young. But Jacal hopes the boy will be pleased. Jacal decided to introduce the girl to the adult wolves. He picked her up and carried her. Kitty stuck her tongue out at Iden, thinking he wouldn't notice. The boy, according to the gentleman, would understand her actions just by watching the baby's face. They came to the table where the adults were. The girl introduced herself and called herself a wolf cub adopted by the Gridwolf family. She smiled sincerely at everyone present. Before the table, Jacal suggested focusing on further collection and research of as many fake blue moons as possible, which are created by leopards. Nothing can be done, I agree, Hogwood. Wee Wee Sr. believes that the gentlemen who adopted the girl are quite concerned about what is happening at the children's table. Jacal reported on the continuation of Iden's conversation with Kitty. Isn't that natural? The guest is not surprised. After all, wolves instinctively communicate with those they show interest in. Jacal and Karis's faces lengthened significantly after these words. Hogwood was referring to the girl's cuteness, which everyone liked. The husband and wife agreed. The guest thought the couple was beginning to understand the meaning of the word temporarily. They said so, but they acted as if she were their own. After that, the owner of the estate went to the children's table. Hogwood was watching this. He knew about one of the wolf father's instincts, to drive away males interested in his daughter, but Wee Wee Sr. did not think that Jacal would turn out like this a month after adopting the baby, the one who marries Kitty. Soon the stepfather and adopted daughter returned. Karis introduced the girl and said that she would live with them until she came of age. The tone of the hostess's voice reminded Hogwood of old times. He didn't think he would hear it for the first time. How much did they want a daughter? The guest looked at Kitty, crazy. How could she be so sweet? The other wolves at the table told the girl about receiving the invitation she had sent them, and there was a lovely paw print on it. The little girl was very happy with this assessment. Jacal named his stepdaughter's nickname Soft Paws. Guests wonder, did she really write those beautiful letters with her own hands? Kitty diligently learned from her brothers, Teo and Dion, and Madame Karis wrote capital letters for the pupil to repeat. She drew Kitty and a heart in the letter, Hogwood thought. The gentlemen have gone crazy, but you can't resist the charm of a kitty. In the evening, Kitty was praised for her good efforts at the table. The guests continued to admire her until the very end. At that time, the girl and her brothers were being painted by an artist. The little girl danced a lot and had fun. The girl also noted the artist's invitation. Iden went home to pack his things. He never let it slip that she was a cat. Kitty would have to please the guy while she was here so that he would continue to keep quiet. The mere thought of it exhausted Kitty. Mrs. Lena thought that something was bothering her pupil. The girl wanted to grow up faster. She already ate a lot of fish and drank milk, but she was still small. If Kitty were big and strong, then Iden would swallow her tongue in fear and not tell anyone. The maid pointed out the girl's thinness, but assured her that she would grow taller when she built up her muscles and gained weight. But for now, let her not think about it and eat more. Mrs. Lena suggested that Kitty try stretching exercises now, but the little one heard about it for the first time. The maid's children did it every day, and now they are tall. Kitty is absolutely delighted by what she heard. She asked the maid to teach her exercises, and the next second, she turns into a huge wolf. The girl is surprised by such a size. Kitty has turned into a cat, the size of a wolf bite. The maid asks her charge to watch carefully and repeat after her. She should stretch out her front paws and stretch out. Kitty stretched like processed cheese, and the maid thinks. The girl explained it by flexibility because she is still a wolf cub. Lena asks to raise her hips higher and straighten her tail. The little one needs to become a formidable cat, and not only because of Iden. Growing up won't be enough to get revenge. Kitty wants to learn how to fight. She's already gotten a lot from Gridwolf, so asking for a combat instructor is too much. And then a good idea popped into the cat's head. After a while, Kitty, in her cat form, made her way into the forest to the military camp. There was no one in sight. Was she too late? At this time, her brothers were supposed to have a fencing lesson with Elliot. By watching them practice, Kitty will be able to improve her skills without spending a penny. This way, she will kill two birds with one stone. The camp shouted a battle cry. The girl is delighted by their howl. It sounds like an echo. And, unexpectedly for herself, Kitty meowed for the whole area to hear. Everyone looked in her direction with faces full of surprise. The little girl immediately became embarrassed. She was quiet. Kitty thought she did it quietly. Did they hear her? Jacal came up from behind and grabbed the cat by the collar. Such a ball of fur stands out in the bushes. Teo and Dayon are amazed. Was the girl watching them? Jacal asks the girl to return to her human form. Teo wants to borrow his father's jacket. The guys hide the cat from everyone else present. Now there will be a magic trick from soft hands. Kitty fluttered out again in human form. The students were delighted. How cute she was. Now it was clear why the gentleman trained early in the morning. Jacal sternly demanded a return to classes. Jacal asks Kitty what she's doing here. The girl came to watch the brothers train. The gentleman thinks she was trying to imitate the boys. In fact, she wanted to learn how to fight, she admitted. She's still a child, Jacal reminded her. The girl understood everything, but now it seemed right to her to be prepared for everything before leaving the estate. The wolves' faces changed, and the little girl noticed it. Did she say something wrong? Kitty was scared. That's not the point, said Jacal. There's still a long time until the girl comes of age, and she's already planning to leave. But time flies, Kitty answered. Dion compared soft hands to an old man because of his style of communication. Elliot thought only Mrs. Karras could get such a reaction from her husband. The latter asks the warrior to shut up. Jacal asks Kitty, does she want to learn how to fight? Answer, yes, she wants to be able to defend herself. But she is so small. But even so, the girl is ready to use everything she has, even fangs. With teeth like that, she won't be able to bite through anything, Jacal thought. Kitty pointed to her brothers. They train every morning. Teo agreed with the girl. A father should treat his children equally. Discrimination is bad. And Kitty is also a grid wolf, so she needs to learn at least the basics of martial arts. Jacal doesn't mind. Will the girl be able to wake up early tomorrow? Elliot asked her. Of course Kitty can. Mr. Jacal said that it will be Sir Elliot who will teach her martial arts. The little one already expects to jump and deliver sidekicks in a week. According to Jacal, it will take a little more time. The next day, Karras spoke with her husband. She is not sure about the need to teach the girl martial arts. For a man who is sometimes insecure about something, the wife has achieved too much, the husband answered. Karras really wants to support the baby in everything. She herself took the initiative and should be able to defend herself. Karras would never have thought that the leopard-related individuals would have the courage to come to their estate. The newcomer would have bitten off her tongue before the gentleman found out anything. Better to die than to let the leopards know that a mistake had been made. Elliot showed the gentleman the magic of tracking and eavesdropping. It is so good that it is difficult to feel if you are not sensitive to magic. Jacal thought that if they had bought Kitty this hat, the leopards would have known about her life. Now that she was their daughter, the predators considered the little one a weak link. That's why they hunted her. The couple needs to figure this out. Karras hugged her husband. She doesn't want Kitty to get hurt during training. Cats are weaker than wolves. The girl feels more confident when she is treated like a wolf. That's why the masters ordered everyone to treat her like this. The difference in strength between races is not something that can be changed by conversion, but the husband and wife cannot tell Kitty what they know about her essence. She wouldn't feel guilty for deceiving her foster parents. Jacal would be happy if the girl didn't feel guilty. Karras regrets that they can't tell her that it's okay to be a cat. Suddenly the door opened and Kitty appeared. Was Mrs. Karras looking for her? Madame asked the girl to come to them. Did she get up much earlier than Teo and Dayon? The little one reminded about today's first lesson. In connection with this, the gentleman decided to make a small gift for the ward. Karras pointed to a ton of boxes. Among the souvenirs were a very beautiful sword and cool boots. The little girl was completely delighted. Kitty thanks her foster parents. Did they really buy all this for her? Karras is glad that the girl liked it all. Suddenly, the foster child is upset. She didn't prepare anything for them. Karras assured her. The girl suddenly began to whisper something in her mistress's ear. Her face expressed surprise and bewilderment. Once they reach a certain age, beastmen are able to hide their animal feelings, but the ears and tail still appear from strong excitement. Long ago, at that moment, Karras crossed the first line, and the responsibility is on her. Karras looked at Jacal in surprise, and he offered to live with her. Something happened that would never happen as they thought. After Kitty kissed her adoptive mother, the gentleman asked his wife a question. Did she like it? It's impossible to explain to someone who's never received a kiss from Kitty, she replied. Jacal took the girl's hand, who was putting on her boots and taking the sword in her hands. and led her to the brothers. The girl was surprised that Teo and Dayon were waiting for her. The boys also noticed the new boots with the sword on the student. Mrs. Karras gave them to her for the first lesson, the little girl explained. Why does Dad look like he's burning with jealousy? The boys asked. No, he didn't, he answered. Who was he jealous of, Mom or Kitty? Teo asked. The boy bets on his mother and Dion on his sister. Whoever loses that day should not touch the girl's hands. The brothers thought about it because the stakes are too high. In an instant, Jacal turned into a wolf and is ready to deliver the boys to training. The brothers are surprised he did not bring them to the first lesson. It is decided Kitty must become strong. Finally, they arrived at the camp. Elliot was also surprised by such a delivery. The girl jumped off the wolf and was full of impressions. She thanks the wolf for the convenient crossing. She confessed. Her heart almost jumped out of her chest from joy. And Kitty kissed the beast on the nose. He immediately took the form of a man and does not require gratitude. Kitty pointed to Jacal's newly emerging ears. But Elliot was already interested in the student's readiness for training. The little girl immediately straightened up. The warrior thought, it felt like she had been trained in martial arts. Her stance is excellent for a beginner. Kitty told how she started working when she was very young. There would be an old man there, ready to rip off the assistants' heads if they didn't stand straight. The brothers were nervous at this point. Who dared to offend Kitty? Jacal asked them to calm down. Isn't this the case at every job? The girl asked. It was the first time they heard about it at the camp. Elliot was sorry that she learned her stance from the villain. Did she do it badly? The girl asked. The knight did not say anything about it. The young lady had a perfect stance. He just wanted Kitty to learn all this in a warmer atmosphere. Kitty is glad that Elliot will be her trainer. He has already begun to understand Mr. Jacal in this matter. But first they need to check the girl's skills before starting the lessons. Elliot picked up the beads and offered to catch them one by one as quickly as possible. The balls rolled down the uneven table into the girl's hands. Elliot was surprised to hear the student's nickname. He thought she would not be able to catch the beads. Kitty is simply confident in her abilities. The knight suggested moving on to the next lesson. He warned, the caught balls cannot be eaten. They approached the logs. The girl is surprised by their number. This is a place to test and improve jumping skills. You need to see how high the girl can jump in one go. The instructor asks her not to overdo it. Before Elliot could finish speaking, Kitty was already on the log. The trainer was surprised because wolves can't jump that high. The girl likes high places. Elliot agreed with her. It was time for a new challenge. Kitty's muscle mass is not that high, but the other indicators are normal. He asked the student to eat more salmon and meat, and if we talk about weapons, then Kitty will suit a bow. This weapon can be used at a distance. It seemed more logical for the little girl to learn to wield a sword, as her brothers do, although she is small. A bow would really be more suitable. Kitty always wanted to fight Jeriam with swords. He always intimidated kittens with a small dagger. Elliot asks the girl not to be so upset. The student smiles, and she is not upset at all. Elliot thinks her ears drooped like autumn leaves. The girl apologizes for this and began to straighten them. She didn't even notice it. Now she felt like a small hysterical child. According to the knight, the brothers also started with a bow. Moreover, the Gridwolf family coat of arms depicts a bow. And does the girl remember Mrs. Karras's recent trip to the meeting? Yes, the girl did not forget about the gathering of wolves. The event was held in the Central Martial Arts Arena. It is believed that the goddess of that place owned a bow. Does Kitty know about this story? The student knew her from a lullaby. In the middle of the central arena, there is a bow driven into the floor. No one can pull it out because it was used by the goddess herself. Kitty likes the weapon that was legendary. Kitty felt like her mentor was lying to her for comfort. She didn't feel bad. Instead, the young lady was determined to try hard. The girl wanted to succeed. She called Elliot the Masters, and he liked it. The knight appreciated the word master. His ears popped out with joy. Kitty noticed this, and a week after starting training, Kitty's morning routine consisted of waking up early and going to classes. After that, Kitty went to the kitchen for a snack and to recharge her batteries. Then she went to her brother's for riding practice. Iden was supposed to arrive today. In the hallway, she greeted Master Elliot. He asked her not to be late. The brothers wished the little girl a successful training session, and she left with the instructor. Before the lesson, it was decided to do a warm-up. Then Clyde came up and pointed to the lady's untied laces. Now he would tie them. Clyde asks to leave these duties to him in the future. The guy is pleased to be useful to the girl. He was not so kind when they met. The young man considers himself guilty. He wanted to see her ears then. But Clyde was convinced that the young lady was a wolf when he felt her sharp fangs. It took the boy a while to recognize the courageous and brave she-wolf in the girl. And today she is majestic as always. Kitty was embarrassed. She was a she-wolf and didn't particularly like compliments. Elliot demanded that he stop flirting with the lady. Clyde waved her off jokingly. He didn't even know such words. At such moments, it was a pretense that nothing could be understood. In the distance, Elliot could hear the cogs turning in Clyde's head. The boy was already leaving. He had merely tied the lady's shoelaces. He apologized if he had disturbed her. The girl was interested in the flirting skills of wolves. The knight is outraged. She asked such a question of a wolf who has never held anyone's hand in 20 years. Kitty recalled stories in books where predators held hands. Elliot demands to move on to training. Several carriages drove up to the palace, all of them with books. The brothers were surprised. The boys' heads were splitting from this thought alone. But it was no wonder why Iden was so smart. The servants announced his arrival. Kitty greeted the young genius with a smile from ear to ear. She greeted him and missed him very much. Was he tired from the journey? He had sat in one position the whole way. The boy was a little tired. He asked the servants to move the books into the room. The girl was trying her best to please Iden, but he didn't care. But then he asked Kitty if she was flattering him because she didn't want to go to class today. She was surprised. The boy thought Kitty was doing this because of her classes. Kitty is actually happy to receive an education from Iden. She liked him at first sight, and the genius was thinking about where to start. The girl is offended. He did not accept her compliments. Walking to the palace, Iden asked the student to be ready, as the lessons would start in half an hour. Soon, the girl was sitting at the table desk and waiting for the teacher. She had a feeling that Iden did not like her compliments, but the guy likes to know that Kitty missed him. In any case, the girl has a lot to learn before she takes revenge on Jerian. Having become smarter, Kitty will decide what to do with her life after leaving the estate. The tutor himself arrived. The classes hadn't even started yet, and she already looked dissatisfied. He advised the girl to concentrate. Kitty denies everything, but it's obvious when she's lying. The girl is worried and asks, "Is it true?" Iden's answer, "No, he doesn't know, he's not interested." He just noticed her displeased face. The student waves it off. She was just surprised that he came early. After all, he just arrived. Kitty opened the book and read Ecomonica for Children. The teacher is ironic, and the girl studied the alphabet before this. He does not expect the student to understand everything, but since he is her teacher, he will teach the basics. Kitty assumed that these books were the basis. Regrets and is sad. Apparently, she will have to delay her revenge. Iden is convinced of the little girl's ability to read. Now, another test asks to imagine one piece of salmon. If Iden adds one more, how much will it be? Kitty happily replied, "In the end, it will make her happy." The mentor turned away and looked out the window. What if Kitty has 2 pieces of salmon and he eats one? Kitty was constantly hungry before she got to the estate, so everything is fine. She will be happy to share food with the boy. Iden asks the girl to count how many patterns there are on the wallpaper. The student decided that this is a math problem. While she was counting, Iden looked thoughtfully out the window. Then he talked about the subjects he would teach. Among them were world history and economics. The girl was amazed by such a number of subjects. Iden will also teach Kitty to better pretend to be a wolf. It's annoying to notice her cat-like behavior. The little one noticed that she doesn't even show it, and her ears and tail resemble those of a wolf. The guy has never had to teach anyone before, but the young genius is hurt by the thought that his student might fail. And Kitty also said that she likes Iden. Wolves can't lie about their feelings for others. So don't throw these words around. The girl doesn't agree because she loves him right and left, and Iden just taught Kitty a lesson, and she has already forgotten it. Iden doesn't like wolves with a bad character. Kitty remembered the expression when they say that someone wants to bite someone, but for the young teacher, this is a common phrase. The girl wonders if wolves can really bite. Yes, if someone is really cute, Iden replied. Kitty allowed the boy to bite her. His face changed and he headed for the exit. He forgot to take something with him. He asks the little girl to read in his absence. Kitty just wanted to be friends with the boy, but so far, everything is going the other way around. Leaving the room, Iden met Teo and Dion. They are interested in the end of the lesson, and they noticed how the young genius blushed. The brothers think Iden is excited now. He found an explanation. He had just been on the road for a long time. After that, the boys burst into the classroom for classes. They wonder what Iden said to Kitty. Teo and Dayon were afraid that the guest could do something to the girl and even kiss her. He was just talking about his future studies, she reassured. If they were just talking, then there was nothing to worry about. The boys ask her not to let Iden think that there is something special between them. Is trying to be friends a special relationship? The boys are not against simple friendship, any relationship without kissing. According to Teo, wolves can be intrusive, so Kitty should be careful. The brothers seemed to have calmed down, but were still nervous. They had to protect Kitty. They decided to keep an eye on the boys during their classes. And the girl thought, what does obsessive mean? It turns out the main thing is that everything is without kisses. The twins were not allowed to attend Iden classes. The reason for the refusal was Kitty's difficulty concentrating, and the brothers have an overly busy schedule, so a month has passed since Kitty began studying. She called her mentor a teacher. During one of the lessons, she gave Iden her notes to check. Kitty seems to have overdone it. Why is she so tired? The teacher asks. She feels like her tail is about to fall off. The boys answer, it's because her tail imitates the movements of her hand when Kitty writes. Her brothers told her it was cute. Kitty waited for the results of the text check. Not bad, was all Iden said. Now they need to make the girl start talking like an adult. Kitty reminded him of the pronunciation problems. They wouldn't be solved until the poor cutie got a tooth. She opened her mouth. The boy briefly assessed the cavity. The tooth was growing faster than he thought. Kitty is sure that when the tooth grows in completely, she will become an adult and will be able to talk properly. And what does she want to do when she grows up? When this happens, the girl will be forced to leave the estate. As soon as she becomes an adult? Asked Iden. Kitty's answer, yes, she was told about the wolves growing up when they turn 19. Until then, the girl is going to study seriously to carry out her revenge. And in another room, Dayon smelled a bad smell, which surprised his brother. Kitty asked the teacher what he intended to do when he grew up. He wanted to become stronger. Iden's mother died trying to protect her son. Kitty is similar to him in some ways. The little girl complimented the teacher. Now he is smart, and when he is strong, he will be very cool. She really thinks so? Iden raised his eyes. Of course, the girl answered decisively. Suddenly, the brothers burst into the room, shouting. Kitty didn't understand what they were doing there. They wonder if the lesson is over. Kitty reminded the boys about their training. According to Teo and Den, even the girl's face has become smaller due to her diligence in studying, and the training ended early. They suggested going for a walk. Iden reminds him that there are 30 minutes left in class. The twins ask him not to be a bore and go outside, but the girl won't get any smarter if she hangs around inside all the time. Teo turns into a wolf and puts Kitty on his back. Dion and Iden walk side by side. The young genius wants to continue the lesson with the girl and asks her to listen to him carefully. He recently received a letter from his father. He told about the new head of the leopard clan. A boy became it. The new leader is only 16 years old. Kitty guessed that he is very strong. Iden's father is worried that the leader will use his own powers to manipulate others. Once the leopards are done with internal governance, they will move on to foreign policy. Kitty doesn't understand why these predators are always fighting, if only they could live happily. According to the young genius, the leopards dream of subjugating all living creatures. To do this, they will use the magic of the blue moon, which they got at a high price 12 years ago. Because of what happened, leopards began to exterminate bears, foxes, and wolves. The club-footed ones managed to isolate themselves from the outside world, and the foxes were exterminated. The surviving individuals began to serve the wolves. The girl wondered if Mr. Jacal and Madame Carisse would also fight leopards one day. She told about her tail, which had been damaged by predators. Fortunately, they had bitten off only the tip. Idem believes the leopard madness of 4 years ago is not the same as it was 12 years ago. It seems they will try to achieve their goals by any means necessary. So they can control their own madness, Kitty thought. Iden's father spoke about the possible presence of supporters of the predators among other races. To do this, the guys need to conduct an investigation. Sooner or later, leopards will come to them, and there is a possibility that another memorial will need to be erected. But if the predators start to run amok, what will happen to the Gridwolf family? Dion asks Kitty not to worry because everything will be fine. If the leopards come here, they will definitely not get into the estate. The twins' parents have already taken emergency measures. They planted a lot of catnip on the hills around the mansion to repel animals. The plant is not poisonous, but cats lose their temper when they smell it. And then Kitty suddenly disappeared. The boys are in a panic about it. Going further, the boys saw Kitty, who had transformed into a cat and was lying on that very mint. She was holding the plant with her paws and was in euphoria. The brothers were shocked by her actions. They were distracted for only a minute. Iden thinks the cat is drunk. He started calling the doctor, and the brothers started to bring the unfortunate girl to her senses. If the parents see the girl in such a state, they will get into trouble. The young genius wanted to leave, but Teo stopped him. Where is he going? The brothers are displeased. They remind me that there are just over 2 minutes left until the end of the lesson. Is Iden really going to abandon his student? He sighed and picked up the cat. As the boy's father says, drunks need to be brought to their senses in some way. He went to the river and dipped Kitty in it. She came to and bit her mentor's hand sharply. Iden looked at his hand with regret, sitting on the grass, and even leopards hadn't bitten him. Kitty was making fun of him. The cat sat on the boy's lap and asked him to be a little kinder to her. The boy doesn't understand why this is happening. Kitty reminds him she is his student, and he is obliged to cherish her. The brothers laugh at this and think that their little sister has had too much to drink today. Dion decided to put the cat away. The twins don't want the girl to drink with men. And how can Kitty be even cuter when drunk? The cuteness level doubled. Karis came up to them and demanded to know what was wrong with Kitty. She took the cat from her son, who mumbled about mint. The cat was happy to see the lady. She was glad to see the girl in a normal state. Kitty agrees that she is fine. As proof, she is ready to dance her signature dance for the mistress. She is only asked not to overdo it. Kitty performed several movements and delighted the audience. Mrs. Karis agrees that the girl is fine. The next moment, the cat fell asleep in the arms of the lady. The doctor reassured her. Everything is fine with the pet. But there are oddities. The doctor looks at the animal in fear. It can't be. Karis will take the cat home, and from the trio, the lady expects a letter of apology by tomorrow evening. At the end of the day, Elliot gave Lacalle a lab report on the improved catnip. And the gentleman thought about Kitty. She is recovering quickly. The knight agrees with him, and the doctors initially thought that the young lady had been influenced by the plant. It was possible to confirm that even a small amount of intoxication lasts for 4 days. Kitty had been on catnip for half a day, but was almost recovered. Jacal ordered Elliot to go get Clyd. He soon appeared before the master in his study. The owner of the estate wanted to ask the fox something. Jacal heard about the fox's interest in Lady Kitty. Clyd is not happy that he was called here at such an hour for this. The gentlemen have temporarily adopted the cat, so why are they so protective of her? The fox called the girl very cute. Is that the only reason? Jacal asks. He knows that Clyde is the most sensitive to magic. He must have noticed something. The guy is still weighing his options. But the gentlemen didn't just adopt the girl for no reason, did they? Jacal stood up. He had enough. He was sure the fox had adopted some of his ancestors' abilities. Clyd was not sure of himself. He had not practiced for a long time. Mana records. These are abilities that are passed down from generation to generation. Once the skill is passed down, foxes can view the records that their ancestors imprinted into their minds using magic. Beastmen with ordinary magical abilities are not able to quickly remove poison or curse from the body. but the guardians of the goddess's relics have more effective healing power. Clyd is sure that Mr. Jakal and his wife did not adopt a simple child. The gentleman wonders if Icarus transferred his powers to Kitty during his death. Lys allows this because the girl is somehow connected to the blue moon. The power of Icarus is passed on only to the firstborn. This is what the Mana records say, but the most logical description of the lady's healing ability seems to be a special power associated with the relic. The power of the beastmen is transferred to the closest relatives at the moment of their death. But Kitty did not witness the death of her father and brother. Jakal opened the very chest where the blue gem lay. Clyd asked the master to close the chest. The poor guy gets goosebumps just from the sight of it. Kitty told Jakal about the warm glow coming from the stone. They definitely adopted a difficult child, thought the fox. The gentleman has a special task for Clyd Foxstane. He winced a little at these words, and in the bedroom, Kitty woke up in her cat form. Next to her stands Mrs. Karras. According to the latter, the victim has a hangover. Kitty was surprised and a little angry. Madame Karras will show the girl to the doctor. Yesterday her condition was not bad, but today it is already better. The doctor cannot believe it. That the wolf cub has such healing power. Kitty was scared. What if everyone saw her drunk on catnip and recognized the essence of the girl? And she has a lesson now, and the unfortunate victim bit Iden. What if she comes out and there's a poster hanging there exposing Kitty? Karras reassured the little one. Wolf cubs often get drunk on catnip, so she shouldn't worry, and asked the girl not to go where the grass grows anymore. The girl doctor in the room is forced to accept this. She may be a doctor, but it is difficult to lie now. But for the lady, she will cope. Kitty apologized and promised not to go there anymore, where the sweet, enticing smell was coming from. Suddenly, Clyd came up to her. He told her that he had already heard about the girl's intoxication yesterday. He brought her a cup of warm milk with honey. The fox constantly treated the girl to sweets, but this was the most touching. Mr. Jakal ordered him to accompany the little girl. Kitty almost spat out the milk. She wondered, is this from today? The answer, exactly so. Clyd is very happy about this. The master also instructed the boy to protect the girl from everyone involved with the blue moon. He should also watch the flow of mana. It will be interesting with the lady, thought the fox. Jakal demanded that he not show sympathy to the baby, touch her soft hands, ears, and tail. You can't say more than 3 words to her, and you should treat her like a wolf. The master has forbidden looking at Kitty. The fox's gaze should be directed at the sky or the ground. The guy is depressed. How should he accompany her then? The fox's job is to escort Kitty to safety once he senses the power of the blue moon. Clyd understood the boss very well. He has a job for Elliot, too. The knight must figure out one of the girl's secrets. Elliot must investigate the leader of the cats, Geryon. The fox soon arrived at the training hall where the girl was training. There he announced the arrival of Mr. Wee-Wees Jr. Clyd heard rumors that the lady had wronged him. Kitty thought that Iden was very angry since he had come all the way here. And they also say that the first bite does not hurt so much. She asks the teacher to bite her until he feels better. The girl prepared for the worst and allowed the boy to bite her wherever he wanted. Iden extended his hand to the little girl. She assumed the teacher would hit her on the head, but he unexpectedly just stroked her hair. Kitty raised her head. The mentor wouldn't bite the poor girl? It seemed to her that Iden hated the girl so much that he wouldn't even want to see her. He didn't understand why she always shook when she saw him. Did she think Iden would beat up her own student? Kitty was amazed. The boy had called her not just a student, but his student. Her brothers had asked her not to let Iden think that they had a special relationship. Is the way the teacher is behaving called wolfish possession? The girl asked. He smiled and answered negatively. But for Kitty, it was all complicated. And she believed everything he said. Of course he does, because Iden is very smart and cool. The boy agrees and asks to ask questions only to him. Kitty wonders if she will ever be able to understand the wolf's obsession. Yes, Iden is ready to teach this to the girl, but she does not need to know about the obsession of others. But the guy is worried about who this fox is next to him. Clyd introduced himself and announced his appointment as Mr. Jakal. The boy now accompanies the young lady everywhere. The teacher is perplexed. Clyd repeated that he was ordered to protect Kitty from all evil spirits. Unless there is a special occasion, the fox does not follow the lady around the estate. But now they are in the training hall, so Clyd is here. The guys were almost burning each other with their eyes. Kitty asked, "Is their class scheduled now?" She will get herself in order and come back. If she was late even for a minute, Iden would definitely bite her. The girl saw the falling hairs and was horrified. It was her fur. Why did the shedding start now? As she ran away, she promised to come back after washing. Iden doesn't understand what the rush is about. The girl runs to Nanny Lena and tells her about her molting. The maid asks, "Does a lady in human form also lose hair?" Usually, such a thing is rare. Kitty thinks it is because she is a child with fluffy hair, which is also thick, but the maid has heard about it. She will prepare a robe for the mistress. Kitty asks to tie her hair tighter. When the maid carried out this order, she noticed that the girl was really shedding heavily like wolves. Where the little girl lived, everyone had the same. It's shedding day for everyone in the mansion, so no one will notice. Let the lady not worry. Lena thinks the new hairstyle suits her ward very well. The girl thanked her reservedly, but she thinks she needs to wear some kind of device on her head. The maid found something for Kitty. She was surprised to see it. And the brothers came to the classroom. There they met Iden. The boys are just curious about how their little sister's lessons are going. The teacher asked about their classes, but Teo and Dion finished early on purpose. They really want to see Kitty studying. And then the girl herself appeared on the threshold. She wasn't late, was she? The student was wearing a beautiful dress with bluish hues. The three boys looked at her in amazement. The boys compared Kitty to a fairy. Is she getting married today? And which of the three will she choose as her lover? The girl was just thinking about it, but then Dayon noticed something white floating in the air. The boys started sneezing. Did they see everything? Kitty got really nervous. She started shedding, and the poor thing's fur is falling out. Teo asks her not to worry because everyone sheds. The boys continued to sneeze. They still tried to calm the girl down because wolf cubs always shed a lot. Kitty asks Mr. Iden to cancel classes for today. He's interested in what the girl wants to do. Kitty is sad and wants to go for a little walk. The brothers suggested going together, but the cutie is categorically against it. She is going alone. The unfortunate one rushed and ran out of the room. The boys looked at each other in bewilderment. And in the mansion, everyone felt a huge amount of wool on themselves while Kitty was walking past them. The girl asked the servants for forgiveness for this. The little one hadn't been bothered by the shedding before, but now she realized how serious it was. There were no small animals on the estate except her. Kitty was already running through the wooded area near the house. From the hill, she looked at the mansion. She is the only cat there. In the mansion, there is food, comfort. Everyone is kind and caring. Kitty feels their love even though she is here temporarily. But in the mansion, the girl is thanks to lies. Kitty was hurt because she was deceiving them all. The poor thing was crying. She was lonely. She remembered her mother, father, unborn brothers and sisters. The girl missed them very much. She was lying on the grass in her cat form. The servants were cleaning the manor house at the time. As Teo said, a cat shedding is different from there. Kitty was strong all the time, but she felt the difference between them and was very upset about it. The boys went outside and followed Kitty's footsteps. They walked in the dandelion garden. Why did the cutie come here? And at that time, she seemed to be howling at the moon. The eyes of the unfortunate girl were full of tears. The brothers and Iden finally spot the girl, and thank God she's not hurt. The young genius doesn't think he belongs here, so he'll leave, but asks Teo and Dion to take care of the ward. Dayon offers the teacher to go with him. He was the one who showed them the way all this time. But Iden is against it. He asks the girl to let him know when she can start her classes. Iden couldn't help anyway, as he thought. He turned around and looked at his brothers and the girl. He knew she needed them now. Teo and Dayon wrapped the cat in a blanket and admired the night sky. The girl thanked the guys for coming to her. Of course, they were family. Teo wondered if Kitty missed her mother. Had they really heard the poor orphan's lamentations? And she admitted, yes, a little. Teo strokes the cat. He's sure that the family misses her, too. They think about her especially strongly during the shedding period. It is impossible to forget such soft fur. The brother joked. They decided to go home where the cat will be combed. Kitty appreciated the concern for her. The guys, although a foster family, are sweet and cozy. They pet the girl and call her their sister. And family members should always take care of each other. Kitty suggested going after they looked at the stars. It was so romantic. The guys asked her to tell them about some constellations that Kitty knew about, and the cutie shared her knowledge about the constellation of the fish and others. Soon they were standing at the doors of the estate. It was time to go back. Kitty was worried. Could she go in? After all, everything there would be in wool. The next moment, the good-natured maids appeared. The workers greeted Kitty warmly and asked how the walk had gone. Inside the hall, everything was white and clean. According to Nanny Lena, everyone was worried because it had gotten colder outside. The girl is amazed. They did this for her? The little girl apologizes and says how much she enjoyed the walk. After a while, Jakal and Karis entered the girl's bedroom. She and her brothers, in the form of animals, were sleeping on the bed. The wife asked her husband if their daughter had lived, would she have become like Kitty? They left the bedroom. Teo and Dion did a great job of brushing the fur, so the shedding ended successfully. Kitty got back on track and learned a lot from Aiden. After she mastered the letter and learned to write, the teacher told her about the Beastmen and the Blue Moon. The former did not yet understand how the latter worked. Their investigations with the replica gemstone were fruitless. Kitty remembered that Jarian often mentioned the Blue Moon, and Mr. Jakal and Aiden mentioned the stone being with the leopards. Jarian had any connection to these predators? No, that would be strange. The cats were driven out of their home 4 years ago during a leopard rampage. They ended up in an even more unfavorable place. The mother told the girl that Jarian was in the last rows and made sure that everyone could escape. That's how he became the leader of the cats. It turns out that a villain should not be on good terms with aggressors. Aiden asked in class what Kitty was thinking about. She was amazed. How did he guess what she was thinking now? The teacher suggested asking him, and he would answer what Kitty was interested in. Does the blue moon have something to do with cats? Aiden allowed this because it is a relic of the goddess. Cats are also animals that pulled her chariot, and relics are objects left by the gods. The relic is also sung about in a lullaby. Kitty smiles. And the teacher also couldn't fall asleep without this song? Answer. Not quite, but he knows about the blue moon from the legends of the deities. Aiden read in a book that some cats have the same name for many generations. This is how they wait for the goddess to appear. It is believed that cats that have been touched by the deity are immune to the blue moon. Kitty asked the teacher, is he interested in cats a lot? But he saw this information when he was looking for a way to tame leopards. Now, Aiden understands why the girl treated him like that at the tea party. According to Kitty, leopards use the power of the blue moon for something, and cats can be immune to its effects. Maybe Kitty's parents were special and she inherited their skills. The mother knew everything, including her daughter's strength. That's why she asked to go to the wolves. The little girl clenched her fists. She resolutely called on Aiden to help with something. Aiden asked Kitty, does she trust him? Answer, yes, he is her teacher. The boy asks the student to continue to think so. He considers himself the only one she can trust to help. Jakal received Aiden in his office. How was he getting on with them? Answer, thanks to the owners, not bad at all. The gentleman was glad to hear this, but it was important for him to know what the boy wanted to talk to him about. Is this about Kitty? Aiden confessed how the girl told him about the leader of the cat people, Jarian. This surprised Jakal. Wee-Wee's Jr. asked, did he also know that the girl was a cat? The girl hides her identity from her family, but she told Aiden everything. It seems so. The boy remembered Kitty's request not to tell anyone that she is a cat, although everyone already knows the truth. If Kitty wasn't afraid of being exposed, no one would have seen her like that. Aiden smiled as he thought, which puzzled Jakal. He wondered what the girl had said about Jarian. She had heard a cat with that name mention the blue moon. The leader of the cats? The owner of the estate asked. The cats might have something to do with where and how the leopards get the imitation blue moon. Jakal told his interlocutor about Kitty's father and brother. Their name was Icarus, and they were immune to the blue moon magic. So other cats aren't immune to this substance? Asked Aiden. The gentleman must first find out if the stone has any effect on Jarian. The boy agreed with him. As the young genius thought, Jakal was a good judge of character, so he could definitely be trusted. The gentleman asked to report to him immediately if Kitty tells anything else. The guy did not want to talk about something, since Jakal is currently on edge. Elliot and his subordinates were standing at the door of the boss's office with papers. Suddenly, the doors opened, and all the sheets of paper fell out of the frightened knight's hands. Jakal went out and headed down the corridor. Elliot wondered where the boss was rushing off to. The gentleman urgently needed to discuss a matter with his wife. The knight watched Jakal go. He didn't understand what he and Iden were talking about. They were probably talking about leopards. When the husband came to his wife, she was sitting at the table sorting out papers. What happened to Jakal? The husband confessed that there was an urgent matter that required immediate discussion. What could have happened? Karis worried. He handed her the book. The lady opened it and turned pale. She couldn't understand how this was possible. If Kara is busy, Jakal can talk to her later. She is angry. What do you mean later? Everything needs to be done as soon as possible. Elliot comes in and sees the lady also confused. What is going on here? Jakal turned to the warrior and ordered him to release some of the knights to prepare for the next week. And what will happen then? The poor guy does not understand. The chief's answer. Kitty is turning 7. The knight was puzzled. Did they really talk about this all the time? After a while, the whole family was sitting at the table. Iden joined them. Kitty noticed the beautiful furs of everyone present. The girl thinks they make such capes after shedding. Kara's heard about the baby's birthday next week. Kitty is surprised. How did it come about? Half a day before the lady, what the little one dropped in class? Kitty understood, so this is what they were talking about. The brothers are calling the girl to play because the classes are already over. She agrees with them about finishing the classes. They saw a fluffy ball in the little girl's hands. This is a meow ball, and Kitty rolled it out of her wool. Iden thought that was not what wolves would call it, but the little girl corrected herself. More accurately, it was a fur ball. The ball of fur reminded her that she would soon be turning 7. Teo and Dion were amazed by what they heard. So it turns out that her birthday is coming soon? And when? What date? The 10th or the 11th? Kitty asks the excited guys to calm down. They ask them not to hide it from them. The girl is amazed at how quickly rumors spread among the wolves. Karis wonders what her ward would like for her birthday. The answer, they have already given her a lot, so there is no need to prepare anything. Usually wolf cubs ask for something constantly, each time they want more and more gifts, and wolf cubs also like to throw a large party in honor of the holiday. How plausible, thought Iden. In that case, Kitty wants knitting or sewing supplies. Teo wondered, did she want to make something? No, the girl needed to learn the skills before leaving. There were accessories in the mansion, but they were too big for her small hands. The faces of the wolves changed immediately. The girl felt a change in the atmosphere of the table. Dion asked again. She wanted accessories and nothing from decorations. Will clothes or jewelry help Kitty become independent? According to Teo, she can sell everything later. Was the little one really going to leave her things here? The girl reminded, they were bought with Gridwolf's money, and the shoes and clothes will be worn out. But the little girl will be able to sell the jewelry for a good amount. Iden didn't teach her to evoke pity, but Kitty does a great job. Karis. Is that all a girl wants for her birthday? Maybe she wants to do something? Kitty wants to go to the market square. She thought it was a really cool place when she and her brothers looked at it from afar last time. She even walked around the entire estate. Kitty wants to go to the marketplace and buy the first yarn she sees. Teo, did you hear? Sis wants to buy everything she sees at the marketplace. Kitty didn't say that. Karis thought it was a good idea. The marketplace was very busy at that time, so the girl would like it. How many escorts should be assigned? The commander of the First Knightly Order and Teo with Dayon are enough. And who will carry the gifts? 2 more knights and Clid to boot must be sent. So the usual walk to the market square became very large scale. On her birthday, Kitty came to the cage where there was a portrait drawn of her family, flowers and buttons from old clothes. She missed her deceased loved ones. She took the buttons in her hands and kissed them. Elliot and Clid were waiting for her near the carriage. The boys began to congratulate the birthday girl on her birthday, and the fox would try to make sure that the walk was safe. They would leave as soon as the girl got into the carriage. In the carriage, Kitty was congratulated by her brothers with firecrackers. They are happy. Now she has become big. The girl is already 7 years old. Teo and Dayon hugged and kissed the hero of the occasion. Iden was in the carriage, too. Will he go with them, too? His answer, Kitty wasn't thinking of skipping today's lesson, was she? The girl demands to congratulate her on the holiday, otherwise she won't listen to the lesson. Thinking of blackmailing the teacher, Iden is displeased. The birthday girl laughed. She was just joking. He may not congratulate her. Everything is fine. The brothers demand that the mentor not to mock soft hands. Iden is not mocking. Kitty asks everyone to take their seats. The carriage departs. On the grid wolf couple watch the carts. Karis hopes the girl will buy a lot of everything she wants in the square. She seems to have become attached to nothing during all this time, except for the buttons from the clothes she was wearing when she came to the estate as a little girl. Madame suggests that her husband begin preparing for the celebration. Karis asked Chakal, he noticed yesterday at dinner that Kitty really wanted a fur cape. The girl couldn't take her eyes off their things. It seems the little one feels deprived. The gentleman turned into a wolf and the wife began to cut his fur with scissors. Smiling, she thanks her husband. He is a good father for the girl. The lady is sure that Kitty will like it. Finally, they arrived at the market square. Kitty looked out the window in amazement. There were so many wolves here. Clyd reminded her that she was one herself. She was embarrassed and agreed with him immediately. Elliot got out of the carriage. He will check the situation and asks the others to stay put for now. Kitty asks her brothers, is there always a lot of people here? They think that people came to see Lady Gridwolf. Children were looking out the carriage window from the street and waving their hands. Iden reported that the night's check had passed, and she could safely go out and do some shopping. The others would follow her. Kitty doesn't know how to shop. All three are surprised. The girl has never bought anything? The little girl's father and brother were constantly traveling, and her mother worked late. Her neighbors brought her clothes and shoes. Iden told Kitty to go everywhere and look at the goods. If she likes something, let her contact Elliot. He will write it on the account. The townspeople do not understand what is being said. It turns out that Gridwolf will pay for all purchases to the merchant. Ki-Ide asks the girl to immediately take a position as soon as she senses the aura of the blue moon. The knights will take care of the rest. She needs to count to 100. If she gets confused, she will become prey to the criminals. If Kitty was far away from everyone, she would have to indicate her location with a howl. The girl remembered how the stone had a warm feeling only for her, similar to her mother's touch. There was a knock on the window. Everything was ready. The lady could come out. The crowd crowded around the little girl. Shouts of admiration, how tiny she was, just like a doll. It seemed the young lady had already become friends with the twins. Everyone saw Iden, but one of the spectators doubted his resemblance to a wolf. The others demanded that the poor guy shut up. Could he have forgotten about that howl? The women admired the girl's confident gait. Kitty walked and greeted everyone who had gathered. They were so kind to her. Then she was delighted with the skeins of thread. Does she like it? The brothers asked. It is difficult for the birthday girl to choose just one thing. The girl chose one skein. The twins appreciated its cute appearance. Will she buy the others? Kitty will buy only this one. She wants to see what other merchants have. A woman in a cloak was watching the boys from the window of a neighboring house. She saw that the knights had surrounded the little girl from all sides, like one big cloud. The lady with blue hair smiled. She thought, why did the king let her out of captivity? Now she understands everything. She told the guys who came up in cloaks with hoods on their heads. Cats usually frown when they sense the blue moon. The girl held a blue stone in her hands. If the girl on the street does not show signs of anxiety, then they can safely kidnap her. Threats to Lady Gridwolf are also welcome. The cloaked guys came out to the square. They had to find the cat. If it frowned, retreat. They walked behind Kitty and her comrades. Clyd turned around and felt the maddened animal approaching. And if the girl is not subject to madness, then she must be captured. The lady in the cloak is sure that at such a close distance, the little girl will certainly feel the aura of the blue moon. And when she understands, it will be too late. Unexpectedly for everyone, Kitty announced that her mood had improved. She held a ball of yarn in her hands and laughed. Clyd and Elliot, who were guarding her from behind, were surprised. The man in the raincoat was no less amazed. The girl didn't frown. The blue-haired woman was surprised. What was that? There were three suspicious individuals in the crowd. Elliot, who shouted this, ordered the suspects to be captured. Clyd found a red talisman on one of them. A cat, who was delighted with madness. The lady in the raincoat had never seen anything like it. She thought the Gridwolves had adopted the cat for no reason. But now everything falls into place. It's time for the woman to take her leave and report everything to her superiors. While the brothers were comforting Kitty, the villain Clyd was holding was trying to break free. The fox asks to break the spy's legs if they think of something stupid. But the next moment, the villain broke free. The knights are ordered to catch him. But quickly grabbing Kitty, the villain jumped onto the roof and began to run. An order was heard. Everyone follow him. We must rescue the girl. The knights were almost catching up with the villain, but he was saved by that same red talisman that he had hooked under his foot. Thanks to it, he was floating in the sky. The guards were upset. They had lost the criminal. Kitty didn't know what to do. If they moved away any further, the knights wouldn't be able to save the unfortunate girl. And then she remembered the fox's words. He asked her to indicate her location by howling if she was too far away. The villain saw her attempt to howl and began to mock her. The cat was about to howl. The boy said that he knew she was the daughter of a thief. He had heard that the girl had been kicked out of the land of cats for stealing food. He knows about her past. Kitty almost cried, but if she does nothing, she will not receive help. And she howled. The villain is horrified by this. Spectators from the square noticed a large white cloud in the sky. Soon a cloud appeared near the passers-by in the market square, from which Mrs. Gridwolf and Kitty came out. Mrs. Karras was holding her in her arms. She praised the little one for her beautiful howl. The couple heard their foster child only because of her cry. By the age of 7, her howl was heard by those around her. Everyone also noticed Jackal's new hairdo. He got a haircut. Kitty looked at the wolf as if in fear. Karras didn't think her husband's haircut would scare the child. The brothers were worried that Kitty was hurt. She reassured them everything was fine. Elliot apologized to the little girl and promised not to allow anything like that to happen after the criminals were interrogated. And again, thanks to the girl for her beautiful howl. Kitty, for her, a wolf cub, it's a piece of cake. Karras is sure the girl was scared, so she gives her a gift. She wanted a fur cape, right? Kitty now understood the reason for Mr. Jackal's haircut. She clutched her cape. Karras thought the little girl didn't like the gift. She cried and insisted that's not the point. She was bad and didn't deserve the gift. The gentlemen are surprised. What is the unfortunate woman talking about? Of course, she can accept the gift. The brothers agree, too, because it is Kitty's birthday. The girl told about her mother, father, and brother. They were cats. At that time, the girl's mother had unborn brothers and sisters. They all went hungry for several days. It was hard for them, so they had to steal food from Gerion's kitchen. As a result, Kitty and her mother were driven away. The girl asks the wolves for forgiveness for deceiving her. She cries. She continues to consider herself bad and unworthy of such a gift. Let them drive her away, but the poor thing can no longer lie. After all, they treated the girl with care and affection. Kitty deceived everyone to take revenge for her family, but she can no longer do this. Karras hugged the little girl and asked her not to say anything more. The gentleman didn't adopt her because she was supposedly a wolf cub. The girl came to the estate in a serious condition, so they decided to take care of her. And the poor girl's mother is not to blame for anything either. Parents are always willing to do anything to protect their children. Kitty and Karras' mother were unable to do what they should have done because of circumstances that were not in their favor. Such things inevitably happen, so no one can be blamed for what happened. The family is happy to see the baby safe and sound. Gridwolf congratulated the girl on her birthday again. The brothers realized that their mother had carte blanche today. She had saved Kitty. Karras approached Clyd Foxstane. Despite the leopard's use of foxes for their own purposes, he has a job to do. The predators will continue to send various creatures to carry out certain orders. If Clyd cannot separate his feelings for his kin from his work, the wolves may stop helping him. It's cruel, but that's the reality. The wolves made a deal with the foxes that they would protect them in exchange for their loyalty. Clyd remembered how his kin asked him to leave the battlefield so that their kind could be restored in the future. The fox apologizes for putting the lady in danger. He will try harder from now on. According to Jacal, Clyd was able to sense the presence of the blue moon. If it weren't for him, things would have ended much worse. In response, Elliot said that the fox could not bring himself to attack his relatives. Although he has a lousy character, he was very worried about the other foxes. Kitty is worried about her comrade. She asked Karis about the punishment for that. The lady replied, "The girl could have been hurt, so there was no way without punishment." Kitty reminded about her birthday, and she doesn't want anyone to be sad on her holiday. Karis with the baby approached her husband and the fox. He doesn't understand. What's going on? Kitty is worried about Cled. Will he be punished? And she wants him to be forgiven. According to the girl, everything ended well. In the fox's place, she wouldn't be able to harm her fellow fox either. And she reminded him again about her birthday. Jacal agrees, only good things should happen today. He turns to Clyd and forgives him. He is surprised. This girl was thinking about him. Kitty at the estate, she was surprised by its size. Does she like it? Of course she does. She also saw meow soup. She took a plate in her hands. Was it cooked especially for her? Karis laughs. Yes, this is a treat for the whole family of the girl. She has to eat everything for each family member. Kitty felt very happy. The brothers also gave a present. They asked to open it. The girl untied the ribbon and saw a piggy bank. According to Teo and Dion, it is one of the 3 little pigs. They gave her a coin and asked her to put it in right now. When the birthday girl did this, the guy smiled. Now the piglet has become fatter from 1 coin. Kitty doesn't know. Does the piggy bank need to be replenished constantly? Dion. Initially, pigs gain more weight than they eat. That's why piggy banks are made in the form of these animals. The surprised girl wants to verify this information with the teacher. Iden was angry with the annoying, in his opinion, twins. His answer, this is the wolf's den. The pig needs to earn money so that it is not touched. Kitty was upset. Wolves here even intimidate piglets, but they don't have to pay them money. The girl saw a box with a blue ribbon. Can she open it? She got permission. Iden congratulated the girl on her birthday. It was his gift. Kitty thanked her mentor with great joy. Gridwolf family is wary. It seems that Iden is watching Kitty too closely. He is a man, after all, and they need to keep an eye on him. After all, the birthday girl is still just a child. Wee-wees felt their eyes on him. Karis was preparing the girl for a family portrait in memory. Everyone was already rushing her. An artist was standing at the easel. He was ready to make sketches, 2 wolves and 2 wolf cubs and a cat. This is the Gridwolf family. After the birthday party, everyone became busier than usual. Kitty began conducting experiments to find out her abilities. The family was currently investigating the effect of the Blue Moon replica on Elliot. Based on the knight's magical power and the characteristics of the Blue Moon imitation, Sir Elliot should remain in his new state for about a week. Karis asked Kitty, who she was holding in her arms, about her health. If the girl feels unwell or dizzy, let her say so right away. The lady will take the little girl out of the room. How does she feel now? Answer, warmth, a feeling of softness and as if Elliot were emanating light. Sunlight? Kitty is the only one who describes the power of the blue moon in this way. Jacal asks the knight, is he okay? Answer, seems so, but not quite recovered. It is unknown if Elliot can be cleansed of madness if you are with him. The family was recently informed that there is a close connection between the leader of the cats and the leopards, and there is the fact that Kitty is immune to the power of the blue moon. The little girl asked the madam to bring her to the knight. The girl stretched out her hand to the knight's head, and he seemed to rise. She felt that Elliot's warm glow had disappeared. Jacal inquired about the condition of his subordinate. Tom was better than before he was tied to the chair. The headache seemed to have passed. Madame Caris was interested in his memory. Does he remember his last request? The knight told how he asked the lady to introduce him to a beautiful she-wolf, but was ignored. According to Madame, Kitty has incredible strength. She is delighted. Does that mean she will be able to fly and hit enemies on their sides? Kara says no, but the little one will be able to help victims of the blue moon magic. Maybe that's why the fox that kidnapped Kitty woke up from his madness. Direct contact with the maddened creature works best. The closer you are, the more effective the skill is. Kitty's skill is not mentioned in the book, so I'll have to do some research. I wonder if this is the power Kitty's mother spoke of. The warm glow from Elliot is familiar to the girl. She encountered it when her mother died. But does the mother have anything to do with her daughter's strength? Kitty asks Karis. Will her abilities help the little girl thwart the plans of the evil leopards? The answer is yes, but it must be kept secret. Too much strength is an invitation to attack. It was for safety reasons that the family enlisted Elliot to help with the experiment. The knight is trustworthy. And what happened to the fox who tried to steal Kitty at the birthday party? Thanks to the girl's power, he came to his senses. This guy recovers and shares all the information. Fox cooperates with the family because he belongs to the Clyd clan. Kitty is happy. He wants to save them all as soon as possible. The girl is sure that then the foxes will consider her beautiful and good. Jakal does not understand why the girl needs this. She did not rule out that one day she might settle in the fox territory. The adults are amazed. According to them, there is no better place on earth than the Gridwolf estate, and Kitty can live with them when she grows up. Only after Kitty managed to nod was she released. A few days later, the first snow fell. At the end of the year, the wolves gather in the center of the estate to hold a nominal service for their relatives who died in battle with the leopards. Nominal service is the wolves' way of ending the year, but children are not allowed to go there. So the brothers and Kitty stayed to watch the mansion. Come to think of it, Iden's mother was also killed by predators. Kitty came to the kitchen, where she was met by two maids. They offered the girl donuts, cookies, or a delicious salmon sandwich. The little girl asks to bring sweets cookies. The maids ask to wait a minute. Soon they bring a cup of milk and cookies in a bag. Kitty is delighted by the aroma coming from them. The girl is about to leave, but the maid stops her. The woman found a hair and removed it from Kitty. The girl thanked her, but the maid should thank her herself. The little girl did not hear this because she left. The maid got the thing she needed. She threw off her wig. The lady with blue hair was standing in the kitchen. Now she had to go back. It was Sigma, the leopard from the second faction. Kitty knocked on her teacher's door, not forgetting to introduce herself. She walked in. She saw Iden in a sad state. She brought him cookies. She almost cried, because it seemed that the boy was crying too. He demands that the girl calm down. He is not crying. But you can tell from her eyes that they were crying. Kitty does not calm down. Iden demands that she calm down. Otherwise, the twins will cause a fuss here. He took the girl and carried her to the table by the window. Let Kitty look at the boy. He is not crying. The little girl gave him a bag of cookies because she is afraid that he did not have breakfast. Did she give them to anyone else? Asked the mentor. For example, Cleodity. The fox went to pay his respects with the other adults, so Kitty brought sweets to the teacher. Iden sat down next to him and thanked the student, allowing her to go. Kitty is afraid that he will start crying again. Iden is already angry. He didn't cry. He told me she's completely lost her fear since her identity was revealed. But the teacher's eyes are wet, Kitty continues. He just wiped them silently. So they sat there silently for some time. Kitty has fallen asleep on Iden's shoulder without noticing it. What is she doing? The boy demands that she move away because the girl's head is heavy. The cutie asks to stroke her so the boy will feel better. Asked a question. Does Iden know that he is very smart? Answer. Yes, his mother always said so. The girl confessed. She had heard somewhere about the genius of the boy's mother. He called his mother the smartest of the wolves. Iden doesn't remember much, but his mother used to read books to him. She died around that time. Kitty was surprised. It was the first time the teacher had told her anything about himself, and suddenly she hugged him. In such situations, this helps the girl. Kitty promises to be with Iden on this day and next year. He is surprised, but he heard right. The girl repeated, and will be with him next year. She promises? The answer, yes, the girl always keeps her promises. Kitty thought to herself that she would stay with the teacher and not leave the estate until she grew up. Iden emphasized, she had just said it herself. Wolves only make promises like that to one person. Does she understand what I'm talking about? From now on, Kitty only Iden is obliged to promise something like that. She laughed and agreed. The guy thanked the girl. One winter day, Kitty, Dion, and Teo were playing snowballs outside, and Iden was reading a book. The boys were rolling a snowman, lying in the snow, and were happy. The brothers asked the girl to wrap it up. It was almost dinner. But first, we need to finish the snowman. There are 5 snowmen in total, 2 adults, 2 medium-sized ones, and 1 small one. Kitty looked at the small one. Know your place. The brothers said that there was salmon steak for dinner today. The girl quickly walked towards them, and along the snowy night road in the forest, a carriage was driving, in which Jakal and Karis were sitting. The journey took longer than the gentleman thought, and Karis looked out the window and seemed to see footprints in the white snow. One day he would come for her. He knew it was cold and scary there, but let her hold on. Her husband called her. Madame woke up from her thoughts. What did he say? Jakal says that they arrived later than he thought, and his wife didn't even notice how they returned. They went outside, and the children probably were waiting. They saw 5 different snowmen in front of them. Karis smiled. It seemed that their little ones had made all this. How cute! She went up to the smallest snowman. Is this Kitty? Again, the memories came flooding back to the poor lady, and she began to cry. Unexpectedly, Kitty came up to the lady. She was glad that the owners of the estate had returned. The woman did not understand where the girl was going in the middle of the night, but she could not sleep and went out to make a few more snowmen. And they rolled 5 with their brothers. Kitty thought Karis and Jakal would like these snowmen. Madame smiled sincerely. That's true. And unexpectedly for the mistress, the girl hugged her. Does the girl miss her mother? The babies answer. Yes, every day, but she doesn't cry. If she starts to be sad, her mother will start to worry about the poor girl. Kitty loves her very much, so she doesn't want to break her heart. Karis felt sad. I wonder if her unborn daughter's voice would be so warm and soft. Would she also speak tender words? The poor woman began to cry again. She left her daughter in a cold place. But Karis then spent warm and happy days. It would be greedy to ask for that time to stop, so that the lady could remain in that blissful moment. The name of the deceased daughter is Deal. And then Karis met her sons, who were happy to see their mother back. The boys were playing with Kitty, and Iden was sadly looking out the window where it was raining. Clid was talking about something with Elliot. During the warm season, Teo, Dion, and Kitty went on a picnic. They ate delicious food from the kitchen and admired the beautiful nature. When the brothers walked in the garden, they were greeted by their parents and sister. Kitty loved to run and walk. With her hair twisted into a ponytail like a red flower and her boots on, she went to training at the camp she already knew. So the years passed. 10 years passed. The criminals in cloaks appeared in the city square again. People were wailing, how long will the leopards continue to torment the helpless beastmen? The unfortunates tried to escape. People shouted at the villains, are they afraid to go up against powerful creatures? One of the leopards saw a boy and a girl ahead who had not managed to escape. He rushed at them, and they only begged for help. But someone in a cloak was faster. He jumped out and fought off the attack. The villain flew back to his brothers. They were worried. Is he okay? The bandit rubbed his bruised head. He did not understand who had attacked. But, looking closer, it dawned on the leopard. Could this really be Kitty? Gridwolf? Yes, it was her, a 17-year-old girl. Elliot arrived at the scene immediately and defeated the bandits with a few blows. Kitty asked the boy and girl if they were okay. The frightened boys thanked the brave cat for her help. The guy asked the savior again, is she Lady Gridwolf? He has heard about her. They say that it was Kitty who gave the rabbits a roof over their heads. According to the girl, all the credit goes to Karis and Jakal. Kitty asks about the names of the rescued kids. The guy's name is Peter, and his wife's is Louie. They haven't named their future baby yet. Kitty's expression immediately changed. She remembered the brothers and sisters who were never born. The girl is proud that she was able to protect their child now. She suggests that the couple move to another area if such attacks happen again, although they happen less often now. The bandits were tied up. Kitty and Elliot looked at them disapprovingly. A little magic from the young lady, and the villains turned from evil criminals into quiet guys. The blue moon magic was eliminated. The saviors were fortunately nearby. Elliot is sure that everything went smoothly thanks to the girl. He was ordered to load the criminals into the cart, which was done. The townspeople admired what happened. They remembered how Kitty was so cute 10 years ago. People thought it was a she-wolf at first, probably because of living and growing up in the Gridwolf estate. The townspeople also saw an advert for servants at the mansion. I wonder if they hire men. Kitty watched as the knight fiddled with the bandits, and she looked at the threads and fish. So, from a small, timid kitten, the girl grew into a majestic lady. Only her love for boxes and salmon remained unchanged. Elliot was sad. It seemed to him that everyone around him was melting under the girl's charm. Didn't she feel the gaze on her? Didn't cats feel love on an instinctive level? The knight decided to ask Mrs. Karras about this when she returned from the convention. Kitty had finally finished shopping. She burns the hearts of wolves with her charm. Sir Elliot thinks so. Not knowing this fact does not relieve the girl of responsibility. And how many such victims did he count? Laughs Lady Gridwolf. Elliot has identified 256 victims of the lady's criminal actions, so he asked to take this seriously. The knight asks Kitty to refrain from communicating with Iden and Clyde alone. The lady looks at Elliot in surprise, but they are her best friends. And the lady has no one else to talk to after the brothers' departure. Elliot understands that they are close friends of the lady, but being a lady, Kitty cannot stay alone with them for too long. She seemed to understand the interlocutor, but did not listen to him anymore. The knight had worried in vain. Iden was currently preparing for her coming-of-age ceremony. Clede was in charge of the Fox platoon. They were probably very busy right now, and Kitty would soon be turning 18. She must prepare for the future, and for Gerion's retribution. It is revenge for the murder of Lady Gridwolf's mother. She asked Elliot about the end of Mr. Jackal's meeting. Knight's answer, they are returning back. Mr. Jackal himself will tell about the girl's dead brother and father as soon as he returns from the convention. What if they have some relation to the Blue Moon? But then Kitty's revenge on the villain will begin immediately. While riding in the carriage, Elliot again remembered the detained villains. Again, they all turned out to be foxes. But thanks to Kitty's abilities, they will return to their previous state. But for the girl, the new bandits were different from the others. She doesn't understand the reason. The lady asked the knight to deliver the criminals to the platoon and take care of their care. And after that, we need to get information. Elliot accepted the order. Kitty had seen the process of cleansing foxes from the blue moon magic before, and the girl constantly remembered her dying mother. Kitty wishes all this suffering would end soon. She asked Elliot about the foxes. Were they sent by the leopards again? That's exactly what the knight needs to find out. That's probably true. In the last few years, leopard attacks have not stopped. Their goal is to kidnap Kitty or take possession of her hair. The latter contains information about magic that the evil predators want to study. Despite all the Gridwolf family's attempts to protect the girl, the enemy managed to steal some of the lady's hair. She considered the villain stubborn, but was frightened by the fact that Kitty was being studied by leopards. The girl remembered that lady with blue hair. Kitty had only encountered her a few times in the last 10 years, but even the thought of her gave the lady goosebumps. Over the years, the Gridwolf family has learned of the very close bond between the leopards and Gerion. The predators continue to shoot arrows infused with blue moon magic at the leader of the cats. This happens even after the villains learn about Gerion's immunity to the stone. Kitty herself does not understand how her enemy turned out to be immune to the blue moon's magic. Gerion himself, he will pay for the crime he committed. But now, I wonder what the foxes caught in the morning will talk about. Kitty tells Elliot that she hopes the foxes will wake up soon. According to the knight, this is the problem, since the detainees have a hard time. Does the lady know that she saved 7 squads of foxes? Kitty was very surprised by this. Could it really be true? The living of these animals is expensive. The lady remembered her piggy bank with coins. But this is an untouchable fund. It cannot be spent. Elliot is not going to ask the girl for money, but he asks her to pass on a few kind words to Clyde when she meets him. Did they quarrel? The lady is surprised. The knight replied, "No, not in this matter. The more foxes there are in the estate, the more powerful Clyde's magic becomes. These beasts become more sensitive to magic when they resonate, and Clyde's power has long outgrown his age. Soon he will become the rightful ruler of the foxes. Then their tribe will leave the Gridwolf estate. Kitty thinks Clyd is cute. According to the knight, the fox only treats her well. She didn't make him do housework like Elliot. Kitty understood everything. During the next meeting with Clyd, she asks him to be kinder to Sir Elliot. She is glad that the young warrior is on her side. They say goodbye and promise to see each other at training. Lena was waiting in Kitty's room. Grey.I asked the lady how the foray into the city had gone. The lady joyfully threw herself into the arms of her faithful maid. According to the latter, the gentleman would soon hire a servant to replace her. Kitty understood that Lena was getting older and that she was having a hard time, and there was nothing she could do about it. The girl loved it when the maid did her hair. The kind woman was sure that the lady would learn to do the same. Lena will conduct an interview for new servants after Mrs. Karras returns. She helped the pupil put on a red outfit with a fur cape. The maid has already trained her students, so Kitty will obviously like someone. After meeting Lena, the lady walked down the hall and saw Iden with a book. They met eyes and the girl happily ran up to him. The guy started stroking the student's hair. She loved it when he did that. But Iden doesn't understand why the girl smells like foxes. She told him about saving several such animals during a foray into the city's market square, and after training, the lady will head to them. Kitty had been resting for a few days. Iden reminded them of Clyd's stay on the site, and he appeared near them almost immediately. "When did he return?" the lady asked happily. Iden looked at the stranger sullenly. "It's chilly outside, so Clyd is here to use magic to make the weather much warmer. Elliot is already calling the young lady to train." The young genius and the fox were glaring at each other. Kitty was already on her way to class. Iden Weewees is a handsome young man with a promising youth, the only candidate for the post of head of his family, cold and calculating. But not with Kitty. Several knights who confessed their feelings for the lady were sent to the order of the Weewees family. This boy, something else. Clyd Foxstane is clearly not himself because of Kitty. As an adult, he has grown to the same level as the mistress. Do all magicians have such good bodies? Foxstane's magic is getting stronger every day. Clyd uses skills that the wolves could not imagine. But since Kitty does not notice the fox, he has a hard time. All this was written down in his own diary by Sir Elliot. At the training ground, Elliot suggested that Kitty start her lessons with magic. "Isn't it too cold to practice outside?" Iden frowned. "The girl is hardy and can't miss a lesson because of the weather." She told the knight the same thing. Kitty sat on her knees and began to conjure with the red ball. Elliot laughs. "If the lady continues to strain her face like that, she will get wrinkles." The girl was upset and thought that cats were worse at mastering magic than wolves. But why? After all, it was cats who pulled the goddess's chariot. Clyd asked her to imagine a stream of water starting on her forehead and going to her fingertips. After doing this, Kitty noticed the ball sparkle. She was amazed by what she saw. Iden knows how the fox helps the lady, but asks to keep her distance. Once you have mastered the manipulation of magic, you need to move on to another. Elliot noted Kitty's ability to wield a bow and dagger and suggested that she practice fighting in her animal form. The girl thinks that soon she will be able to do what Mr. Jackal can do. Jump high and strike at a 45-degree angle mid-flight? Not right away, Elliot says, but it will take some effort. When Kitty turned into a cat, the knight picked her up. He noticed that every winter, the mistress's fur becomes denser and her claws stronger, and the knight caressed the fluffy one's paws a little. He asked the student to catch the rhythm and practice attacks with her paws. Kitty started waving her paws back and forth. According to the witnesses, if the cat had attacked them now, they would have died of cuteness. The animal had clearly decided to use cuteness as a weapon. Elliot suggested to finish training for today. Kitty was lying on the ground from exhaustion. Iden came and picked her up. Clyd thinks his coat will get dirty. Genius says he shouldn't worry about it. The fox asked Elliot to come with him immediately. "What's going on?" He doesn't understand. It turns out that the foxes caught today testified against Geryon. It was he who sent them to the city. Kitty was very surprised by this. When they arrived, they saw one fox who had woken up. He was terribly ashamed. He and his friends had lost their minds because of the blue moon, which was used by a cat named Geryon. Kitty is stunned. The prisoner wants to say, "Does Geryon have a real blue moon?" The fox does not know for sure. He only saw a stone of this color, and the villain ordered them to capture Kitty, who lives in the Gridwolf estate. According to the prisoner, Jarian is pursuing some goal and needs to check something. He also said that they could try to get at least a lock of Kitty's hair. If the lady had not intervened then, the foxes did not know what would have happened to them. Jarian is the one Kitty hadn't forgotten about all this time. He decided to come for her, the girl thought. She would have to look for him, but it seemed he did it for her. The villain was talking about a certain assistant who would soon be at the estate, but the prisoner doesn't know how it will happen. Kitty wonders if he can send one of the servants. Iden said, "To be hired, servants must be trained by the manager or butler, right?" Iden confirmed, and the girls will choose their personal maid especially carefully. Cleod is ready to check all candidates. According to Kitty, it is not worth it. It is better to act according to the plan, without changing anything. Jarian's spy had infiltrated the estate, but Kitty was optimistic. Let no one defeat the Gridwolf family. Clyd is ready to do as Kitty wishes. He is glad that he could help the lady. This did not escape Iden's attention. He did not understand, since when this began. Every time the lady smiled at the fox, something clicked in the genius's heart. From now on, Iden will be with Kitty. He can't believe that the girl looks at others like that. Every time Wee-Wee's disappears from sight, he asks to finish the lesson quickly and will go to rest. The girl remembered about it. Forgot? Iden grinned. The lady smiled at him. No, how could she forget about her teacher's lesson? As she left, the lady waved her hand and wished Clyd luck. That damn wolf, he thought. When Kitty woke up the next day, Lena was in her room. Gray? Dot. According to the maid, the mistress has become so big that she no longer needs gymnastics for rapid growth. Lena asks if Kitty slept well and starts combing her hair. She tells her about the letter that arrived yesterday. It tells about the return of Mr. Jakal and Mrs. Karras to the estate today. The girl was very happy. She wanted to tell them about her plans as soon as possible. In case the henchmen appeared here, Jerry and Kitty will have to say goodbye to this peaceful routine. Too bad, but there's no choice. Kitty has to defeat this vile bastard by any means necessary. She'll soon find out why Jarian, who abandoned the lady to her fate, suddenly changed his mind. Knowing his character, he will never act personally. Kitty, while thinking, almost burned herself with a hot cup. Lena got nervous, but the cutie immediately calmed her down. Everything is fine, she was just thinking. I wonder what the relationship is between leopards and Jarian. Soon Mr. Jakal and Lady Karras arrived at the estate. Kitty, in the form of a cat, jumped into the arms of the owner of the estate. He asked, was she well behaved? Answer, yes. Did they get there without problems? The cat looked at Jakal. Now she understands what his expression means, and she began to rub against the gentleman's face. According to Jakal, the lady's fur has become much thicker in a few days. She reminded him that the shedding season is approaching. Will Jakal brush her tummy? The gentleman agrees and asks the little one to come to his office. Kitty is delighted. She thinks Jakal will tell her about her father. Karras reminds her of herself, and the cat immediately jumps on her. How is her cat? They both smile. And then Kitty remembers that she needs to tell them something. In the office, angry Jakal pounded his fist on the table. He couldn't believe the words he heard. As the lady said, the chieftain of the cats has set his sights on Kitty, says Sir Eliot. Jakal immediately thought of the leopard's order. If the girl's guesses were correct, Jurian would send his man to serve her. It seemed that she would be under long-term surveillance. But in this case, it is possible to obtain information. Therefore, Kitty wants all interviews not to be canceled and to be held as previously planned. There are doubts among those present. Is it possible? Is it dangerous? Jarian as a servant, then. These are Eliot's words. But Jakal decided to do as Kitty says, and it won't be that hard for them to figure out the agent of the cat leader. The girl thanked them for supporting her initiative. No need, the gentleman replied. Karras reminded them of their family ties and the need to trust each other. Kitty thought they wanted to tell her something. Jakal reported about the man assigned to watch the leopards. He got important information for the family. The lady is all impatient to hear. It turned out that the predators have her hair. It is known what they do with it. There is information about Jarian himself. Jacal brought a basket with a soft bedding. Kitty quickly turned into a cat and sat down in this cozy place. Now she fit completely. The girl had indeed grown, as the gentleman had noted. Kitty agreed smilingly. Then they measured her height. The girl admitted that she was going to take off her shoes honestly. Jacal believed her. Kitty stood by the bookcase. Jacal measured her height with his claw. How she had grown. After all this, the girl drank milk and admired its taste. According to Hogwood's research, Geryon has a blue moon. Kitty looked at Jacal with a puzzled expression. She is interested in leopards. With them, everything is more complicated. These predators are affected by the stone and become wild. The blue moon imitation was created with the help of the immunity of the head of cats. The real stone is kept in a tower guarded by leopards. Question from a lady: so only Geryon can touch the stone in the tower? Answer: it seems so. They say that the head of the cats recently replaced the real moon with a fake. In Kitty's opinion, Geryon was always desperate and stupid. Apparently, the leopards found out about everything. Because of this, there was discord between the leader of the cats and the predators? Asked Kitty. But leopards are powerless against the moon. That's why Kitty became their target. The girl also knows about her immunity. According to Jacal, they first chose the lady because they considered her to be the wolves' weak point. Then the predators decided to use Geryon himself against Kitty. Now the villains are confident in the superiority of Kitty's power over the head of the cats. The girl can heal creatures prone to madness. Kitty agrees with this, and Geryon is more immune to the stone's effects than anything else. And whose power is stronger? The lady is sure that it is hers. Jacal studied the magic that the girl placed in the spheres. Kitty picked up the sheets of paper and began to read the contents. Everything was as they had expected, as described. The wolves decided that the girl possessed the magic of the goddess. According to Jacal, the blue moon once belonged to the goddess. It is impossible to freely use the power of the stone without being negatively affected, unless Kitty is its owner. She was shocked and did not understand what to do now. Jacal suggests being careful and making sure the girl is not kidnapped. The leopards and Geryon learned about the goddess's magic in Kitty. That's why they started acting more aggressively. Kitty remembered her mother. She knew that everything would be exactly like this. That's why she sent her daughter to the territory of wolves. Jacal told about Hogwood's guess about the death of a cat named Icarus. The girl immediately tensed up. Is it her father or brother? Jacal admitted it, but he himself hadn't seen his friend's report. The relevant materials have already been sent to Iden. They'll be here soon. And the guy himself read the message from the bears. The clubfoots wrote about their reluctance to get involved in the squabbles between beastmen, but they would consider anyone who stepped onto their territory a trespass. But the two cats named Icarus did not die by accident. They were killed by other cats who followed them. Iden was worried that if Kitty found out about this, she would cry. When she talked about her family, her eyes filled with tears. At such moments, he is overcome with anger. The guy experiences the same thing as the girl. Iden wants to tear Geryon to pieces. Suddenly, Kitty saw him in the room. She was surprised. Has he already arrived? Kitty remembered how, when she was little, she saw her father and brother off on their journey. What would Soft Hands want from them as a gift? The little girl wanted a kiss. They asked her not to worry, they would kiss the girl upon their return. But no matter how long Kitty waited, her family never returned. She looked out the window, and there were cutlery for 4 on the table. One day, a henchman came, Geryon told, about the accident with the baby's father and brother. Kitty remembered her mother's tears over this. She can still see it clearly. As if it were yesterday, the girl asked Iden about the possibility that the report was wrong. Answer: it is unlikely. Bears are innocent creatures and they don't lie, Kitty cried. The guy asks the unfortunate girl for forgiveness. If he knew about the contents of the letter, the girl reassured her friend, he's not to blame here. So Geryon killed Kitty's father and brother. According to Aiden, her parent and brother were originally immune to the Force, and since the Beastmen's special skills are passed on at the moment of their death, Geryon must have killed them himself, or be present at it. If the girl is having a hard time, Iden suggests that she take on the form of a cat and cry. The unfortunate girl does so. The guy takes her in his arms, but Kitty is afraid to stain his coat. Iden asked to cry only in front of him if the girl wants to pour out her feelings again. She is afraid that she looks bad. The guy reassures it is not so, but he will get angry if the lady starts crying in front of someone else. As they stood by the window, Iden asked Kitty where she was going to go when she came of age. The girl announced her intention to take revenge on Jerian. Moldy the genius suggested that she go live in his estate. The girl smiled reservedly. She wondered how long she could stay there. Iden allowed the lady to live in their house as long as she wanted. Kitty fell asleep and woke up next to Jakal and Karis, who had taken the form of a wolf. The owner of the estate explained, Iden brought her here sleeping yesterday. He noticed how swollen the girl's eyes were from crying. She perked up. Were they really worried that the little girl was sad because of her father and brother? Is that why they fell asleep next to each other? Kitty looked at her foster parents. Karis smiled. How wonderful they are, and Mr. Jakal's tale is the warmest in the whole world. The lady wonders, does she want it for herself? The wolf was surprised by such words, but immediately suggested going to eat. Kitty agreed, but before that, they had to do something. The gentlemen were puzzled. What? The cat smiled. Time for stretching. The girl invites Mr. Jakal to join in. He took the right place on the floor. Kitty asks to first stretch out her paws and stretch. The tail should be stretched up. Don't forget about the ears. It ended up being funny. Kitty always wanted Mr. Jakal to dance with her, and now she was asking him to stand on his hind legs and start shaking his body. The gentleman was already getting tired. The cat performed these movements herself for now. The gentleman looked at her in surprise. Finally, Jakal also began to dance, repeating after his pupil. Karis only laughed at this. Her husband returned to human form again and stroked her back. The cat is very happy to dance with the master and thanks him for it. She jumped up to him and kissed him on the cheek. As they walked to the door, Karis laughingly declared that the girl had melted the heart of the owner of the estate. A guy was walking down the steps into a room that looked like a dungeon. You could see shackles with bloody chains. The young man turned to Sigma, a blue-haired girl standing by the chemical flasks. Why did she call him here? Sigma held a white ball. For her, it was a sparkling miracle. She spoke about the truly incredible magical power of soft hands. She turned to the guy behind her back. His name is Delta. According to the girl, Jerian has changed his mind. He agrees and considers the leader of the cats impudent and ignorant, but thanks to him, they have the opportunity to touch the blue moon. Sigma seems to think that to create a world of leopards, they don't need him at all, but soft hands. But what should they do with her? Delta asks her to stop with her perversions and talk business. Sigma is just guessing. But since the blue moon is one of the goddess's relics, they can use Kitty's power and get to the others. After that, the moon's magic will no longer be scary. Mr. Delta listened indifferently to the girl as she listed the legendary relics of the goddess, the stone belonging to the leopards, the mirror from the bear's territory, and the bow located in the Gridwolf estate. According to Sigma, Jerian realized this and therefore decided to get close to Kitty himself. They need to kidnap her before the head of the cats. The girl smiled like a mad woman, and she has a suitable day for this crime. This is the annual memorial service for the fallen wolves. In the morning, the family ate salmon steaks with vegetables. Karis asked Kitty how she slept. The girls answer, well, and the gentlemen rested well. But today there are many things to do. They asked the ladies to get in the mood. According to the lady, before reaching adulthood, the she-wolf must learn to love. Kitty does not understand. Will the mistress teach her? And will she tell beautiful stories? Elliot has already reported everything to Karis. Wolves who train hard are good at love. The girl is happy. She thinks she will get a lot of love. The lady made a stern face and asked, does Kitty know where babies come from? Kitty knows. Her version is that a man and a woman should sleep in a bed, crossing their tails twice. The gentlemen turned their heads to the sides. They got away with it. The girl didn't understand anything looking at them. Kitty was sitting in a beautiful dress on a chair in the large hall and choosing maids. Mrs. Karis was present slightly behind her. She asks her pupil to choose the maid she likes. 6 candidates were selected. Kitty saw 4 she-wolves, 1 dog, and 1 rabbit. They all greeted Milady. The girl did not smell a cat from any of them. Kitty asks them to introduce themselves one by one, and while they do this, let them pour tea into one of the cups in front of them. One of the candidates was sure that she would achieve high results. She hopes to please the lady, and threw sugar cubes into her tea. The girl looked at the young lady. Does she like her? Then she talked to Iden. He had already heard that the lady had left 3 maids. Kitty confirmed this number. She's sure that Jarian sent 2 spies here. Iden asked to tell why the lady got this. According to the girl, all the candidates knew about the work of maids for the 17-year-old lady. But some acted as if this fact did not matter. Mary and Anne both put 3 cubes of sugar in their warm tea with milk, as if they knew about this childish habit of the lady. Kitty thinks they are spies, asked Iden. She thinks so, and Cleed will keep an eye on the newcomers, and with his magic, the estate will soon know everything. The teacher friend repeated, The lady is sure about sending Jerry and spies as servants? Answer, exactly. That's why Kitty chose both of them. Iden doesn't understand why the girl chose another rabbit named Baniel. The latter is a cousin Louis, whom the lady saved in the square. The cousin also told the maid about Mrs. Kitty's very thick hair, and she, Baniel, knows how to do beautiful hairstyles, and she wants to style hair nicely. The lady thanked the girl for her honesty. Mrs. Karras opened the door and reminded Kitty about the lesson about love. Iden is talking about another servant who knows about the tastes of the lady. He's talking about one of the she-wolves? Asked Kitty. She remembered her because of her graceful posture. She was sent by Iden, right? The guy doesn't understand how the girl understood that. She reminded him of his tea drinking. The handle of the cup was always pointed in a certain direction. Kitty thought that this was the customary way to serve dishes at the Wee-Wee's estate, and the maid offered tea after the handle of the cup was pointed in a certain direction. That's why the girl decided that one of the maids came from the Wee-Wee's estate. Iden asks to let him know if the lady changes her mind about the servant. He will send her that maid again. She will serve better than the others and will become a link between Kitty and Iden. The lady noted with a smile that she prefers to meet him in person and tell him the latest news. Iden said, so that's how it is. Then he bowed and left. By the way, Hogwood, who was never popular with the ladies, was able to marry a beauty, and the servants from the Wee-Wee's mansion helped him with this. Now, it is clear why Elliot was worried about the situation around Kitty. All these thoughts do not give Karras any peace. She asks the pupil to start the lesson quickly. The mistress will explain to the girl the essence of love between the opposite sex. Every creature starts to be interested in the opposite sex when they reach puberty. Karras asked Kitty about the boy she was interested in. Is there one? Kitty admitted that there are a lot of them. In addition to the maids, there are plenty of boys around her, and the girl is grateful to them for what the guys do for the young mistress. According to Karras, love is to have warm feelings for a man outside your family. In such cases, a woman's heart beats from thoughts about him, and her whole head is filled only with this man. Ladies want to touch him, watch his every move, and get to know him more and more. Karras asked Kitty, does she have such a person? But the girl did not have such a person. When wolves become adults, they will want closer communication with those they love. The young lady is amazed by such words. The mistress asks the maid Flora to bring what she was asked for. Kitty is perplexed. What can you ask a maid for? But she brought sweets and put them in front of Karras. Kitty assumed they would eat all this and do their homework, and she wanted Flora to bring her milk tea. The mistress would show how physical love is shown using sweets. Kitty, seeing all these preparations, closed her eyes in fear and cowered. Karras cut off a piece and offered it to the girl. She still kept her face covered. She couldn't believe that children weren't made by crossing tails. The lady is surprised by the girl's reaction. Is everything all right there? Kitty understands. For wolves, this is natural, unlike for cats. She now understands why beastmen who are able to express love and affection are called wolves. But Kitty is glad that she was told about this now. But revenge is a priority for the girl, and she needs to avoid love. She remembered Iden and Clyd, the opposite sex. There's no one she would show such interest in. The girl is glad that it is so. She needs to be careful before leaving the estate. She can't let some love get in the way of her revenge. Later, she changed her clothes with Lena's help gray. The maid will not allow the cunning housekeepers to touch the young lady's food and drinks. The latter thanks the faithful servant for this. When the dust settles, Kitty will definitely choose her own personal servant. Lena asks her not to hurry. She is happy to have the opportunity to spend more time with her mistress. And what does the lady think? Will the rabbit cope with her duties? Kitty does not know yet. We will see later. Kitty understood that she was no longer a child and had to be careful. Then Lena lectured the three new workers. She hoped that they had completed the course well and would therefore behave properly. Kitty heard Lena telling the trio about their mistress's morning schedule and tea in the greenhouse. Sir Elliot was away today, and training was canceled. So the lady decided to have tea with Iden and Clyd. Of course, the girl had her reasons for this. Elliot insisted that Kitty not meet them alone, so if the three of them got together, everything should go well. She couldn't wait for tea. In the garden, Iden met Clyd. What is he doing here? And the fox received an invitation from the lady, and the scientist expected to meet the lady tete-a-tete. That's why he dressed like that. But Kitty came up and waved her hand to the guys. The opponents seemed to burn each other with their gaze. The girl did not like such a tense atmosphere. Addressing the guys, the lady assessed the outfit, but they asked to clarify whose exactly it was. For Kitty. Finally, they sat down at the table. Clyd was more smiling, Iden was frowning. The girl was surprised. Do they really consider today's tea party some kind of official event? Kitty says she should have dressed up to match the atmosphere, admires the boy's appearance. It's every girl's dream. Baniel pulls up a trolley with tea and snacks. As soon as she took the teapot and was about to pour tea, the utensils suddenly fell out of the hands of the unfortunate maid. Iden and Clyd are both horrified. They are worried about the lady. Is she okay? The rest of the servants are no less frightened. Kitty reassured everyone. She was fine. Baniel was the one who broke the kettle. Flora asked her to be careful because there was boiling water in the kettle. The poor thing apologized to her elder, but the kettle handle, and then Kitty screamed at Baniel. How dare she make excuses? The lady could have suffered, so her mistake would not go unnoticed. She ordered the maid to be taken away immediately. Kitty asked Clyd to take Baniel away. He did so. The other maids discussed the incident. It was dangerous. Luckily, the mistress was not hurt. The rabbit couldn't handle the kettle because it was too heavy. Maid Flora promised to return in an hour and ordered 2 new maids to clean the mistress's room. Also, scented candles should be lit. It should smell nice there. When the new housekeepers came into the room, they started discussing Baniel. Would Kitty really throw her out because of one mistake? Did the foster child think she was a real daughter of the Gridwolf family? In that case, the maids are doing well. Their plan with the oil worked perfectly. But didn't Jerian tell you to put oil on the stairs? Yes, but there are a lot of people in the estate. It would be extremely risky. The maids thought Kitty would choose one of them. But what if she left both at once? The girl, transformed into a cat, was behind the bed and heard the entire conversation, and the maids giggled. They don't understand why they chose that rabbit. Everything is as Kitty thought. Before she can act, she needs to make sure that Mary and Anne are indeed Jerian's spies. That's why Baniel was chosen along with them, since it's unlikely that she is a spy as well. Being spies, these two will probably try to get rid of the rabbit. She will interfere with their plans. But Kitty did not think that everything will happen so soon. Jerian needs a week to start work. Maybe it's because they are she-wolves. They act more aggressively than the cat Jerian. I remembered the words about the girl's brother and father initially belonging to the immunity to the power of the blue moon. To gain this ability, Jerian killed the poor girl's father and brother. But this was not enough for the villain, and he deprived Kitty of her mother and unborn sisters and brothers. And with her paws, although if you think about it, Kitty won't be able to cause any harm to anyone with these fur balls. But in any case, she will definitely take revenge on her worst enemy. Then the girl found Flora to convey her request. The lady asked that Mary and Anne be placed in separate rooms in the mansion, and the further apart, the better, and not to give the workers ink and paper. Of course, they will have writing utensils, but when using them, the information about Kitty will differ from the truth. Mary and Anne will not know about it. Flora appreciated the mistress's plan. She and other maids have already heard about these spies. Flora promises to make these two exhausted without a break. They will have to work hard to get at least some information about the lady. Kitty allowed the maids to do whatever they consider necessary. After Kitty gave them free rein, she went to the training ground. Mary was assigned to her, and she informed her that she was the one servicing the mistress today. Kitty had no intention of being lenient with Gerion's spies. When she was younger, she had been afraid of his minions. Now, everything had changed. Karis had once asked the girl to remember that she was a grid wolf. That's if someone tries to harm her. Sometimes it's necessary to show who's boss, and Kitty will let them know she's not some weak cat. While Mary bowed to her, the lady looked at her unkindly. Clyd approached the lady, and she became bossy. According to the lady, this will make them regret their choice. It will be hard, but it is worth trying. The fox praised the girl for her intelligence. He is sure that Kitty will have no trouble settling in the fox territory. The lady is a little embarrassed, and he wonders, when she comes of age, where will Kitty go? Nobody knows about it. Mr. Jakal and Mrs. Karras talked about the need to spend their entire lives on the land of wolves. Iden wants to see the lady in his estate, but I wonder what will really happen to her. Kitty is now thinking, is she really going to go to the fox territory? Kitty smiles. She herself doesn't know where to go next. Clyd smiled and hopes that the lady will soon get rid of the spies. Kitty asks Baniel how she's doing. According to the fox, she spends her days brushing her fur. He asks the lady not to worry, as he's looking after her. Kitty already hopes to stroke the rabbit's ears when approaching her. Kitty suddenly raised her hands up and screamed with joy. She was delighted with the wonderful weather. But the next second the sky was covered with clouds, and it began to rain. And Mary was sitting under the awning and polishing wooden swords. The maid is tired of this job. After all, she must gather information for Gerion. The rain has made the spy maid's fur damp. She's surprised by the amount of work in the estate. Bloody Kitty, thought Mary. The maid didn't think she had such a bad character. She had thrown that rabbit out for breaking a teapot. Although Gerion had spoken of the girl as a timid and innocent kitten, Mary thought Kitty was withering away in the estate from depression, but she actually walks with her head held high. And everyone in the mansion is delighted with the young lady. What nonsense! Her name is Mary? A stranger approached the maid. This one was Clyd. He called himself the escort of young Mrs. Gridwolf. He promised to see Mary often now, and the maid recognized him. This is the rightful successor of the fox chief. As the number of foxes increased significantly, his power was finally restored. Mary did not understand what this cat had done to deserve an escort in the form of Clyd. He assured of the hard service of the young lady. He promised that soon the maid would understand how demanding Kitty was. They shook hands. In the fox's opinion, the lack of magic compared to other wolves could hurt the lady. He's sure she'll have a hard time when she comes of age, and that makes her even more nervous. That's it, Mary thought. Clyd thinks that when Kitty's temporary adoption ends, she'll settle in the land of the foxes. Clyd will have to help Kitty. He simply has no choice. Mary is happy with the new information for Gerion. She wants to get as much data out of the fox as possible, and he already assures how much the local wolves hate him. He even, one might say, did not live here, but survived. Mary immediately thought that the fox had been thrown to the local beast to be torn apart, and he immediately praised the maid for a job well done. But he must leave, and Clyd wished the maid to finish her work as soon as possible. And when he came to Kitty, he reported the transmission of false information to Mary, as if the young lady Gridwolf was too weak to use her powers. Elliot, who is against meeting the lady alone, came up to them. She admires Clyd's behavior. Didn't the spy suspect anything? The fox thinks that she was so busy working that she couldn't think about anything. Information about mana was also collected, as Kitty requested. Since this substance is different in all creatures, it is possible to determine with precision who touched what objects. Kitty asks the fox to continue to watch Mary and Anne. You can never know what they are thinking about. The young mistress suggests that they separate. If they continue to talk, the spy maid will begin to suspect something. Mary came up to Kitty. She had already done all the work that was assigned to her. The hostess had an unfriendly face. She turned to the worker. Really, and she has fast hands. So next time she will cope with a larger volume. Mary thought very badly of Kitty at that moment. She can't do anything half-heartedly. She has to win the trust of her new mistress. The maid smiled and agreed with her. Kitty demands that the maid return to the room and wash herself. She doesn't like dirt on the carpets. Mary obeyed her mistress, but again thought something unflattering about her. And in the room, Kitty introduced the fox Clyd to the second spy, Anne. She described the guy as her escort. The fox extended his hand to the maid. He was pleased to meet her. The girl was a little embarrassed, but responded in kind. The lady noticed the servant's glance. It was not surprising. Many maids look at Clyde that way. Kitty used to think that maids were just shy. But after her lessons with Karis, everything became clear. Clyd has excellent manners and looks very good. And on top of everything else, he is a good guy. That's why everyone blushes when they see Clyd. The girl is lost in thought, and he asks, "What is he thinking about?" "Nothing," smiles Kitty. The fox asks not to stare at him next time, but to speak right away. They said goodbye, and Kitty left. Clyd looked after her with a loving gaze. His heart could not stand such glances. And Lena was already telling the young lady to wash up and start preparing for the lesson. Anne was receiving instructions. There were many things she needed to pay special attention to. A lady's hair should always be brushed, and when the maid did her hair, the room should be cleaned again. Kitty thought mockingly while Anne was being taught the job. And she herself, after so many years of studying with Iden, had become an expert on everything related to the Wolf clan. She had learned a lot about the world of beastmen, to be able to settle in any territory in the future. Iden is a good teacher, albeit a little harsh. Kitty looked at the mentor. What was he thinking about? He answered, about her. The young lady smiled. They now need to explore the northern terrain. Bears live there. The entire surface of this land is covered with snow and ice. If the lady walks on the snow in the form of a cat, she will leave many footprints. The northern lights can be seen in the sky, and the water is full of large salmon. Kitty wants to go there. According to Iden, once the blue moon problem is solved, we can go north. The teacher asks the student to summarize what she has learned today. Kitty wrote something on a white piece of paper and handed it to Iden, and he seemed to fall asleep. The girl is sure he is tired after all the work done. Kitty looked at the teacher a little sadly. Soon he would become the head of the Wee-Wee's family, and they would not see each other so often. Iden opened his eyes and asked the lady, until when was she going to look at him? He demanded that the work be handed over to him if it was ready. Iden scared Kitty. She thought he was sleeping. The guy was tired, so he would check the assignment in his room. After that, he turned around and left. Lena and Anne brought some goodies to the young mistress. Kitty suggested that the maids join her and have some snacks, as the teacher was tired and left. Lena saw him leaving. To her, the teacher seemed a little sick. His face was very hot. Maybe Mr. Iden was tired from traveling between the Wee-Wees and Gridwolf estates so often. Kitty remembered how the teacher actually got sleepy during class. She hadn't thought about it. Kitty asked for the maid, Lena Gray, to take the medicine to Mr. Iden. And while the young mistress was busy feeding Anne and Mary with various information, her own birthday was approaching. Anne helped Kitty dress and comb her hair. She will have to work hard to comb out the mistress's tangles. And don't expect an easy job. Lena came in and reported the arrival of the Vala family. The ladies' brothers were upset that they would not be able to attend Kitty's fitting. The latter wondered, when will the boys be back? The answer, in a few days. They got 3 weeks for excellent academic performance. Kitty thought warmly of Teo and Dayon. Will they be able to make snowmen again? She's looking forward to seeing the boys. And at the fitting, Madame Vela complimented the lady. She's grown up so much in this time. Kitty greets them. Welcome! The designer couldn't believe her eyes. What a cutie she has already grown up. She has become a real lady. The designer can't wait for Kitty to grow up. Vela asked Kitty to visit her shop. The young lady is all for it. She trusts her wardrobe only to this designer. Elliot announced the beginning of a fashion show, timed to coincide with the birthday of the young mistress. The knight asked Lady Vela to refrain from fainting at the sight of Lady Kitty. Gridwolf, she promises not to disturb the owners of the estate while they enjoy the show. Elliot asks to welcome Lady Kitty herself to the hall. She put on beautiful shoes with thin soles. Everyone in the hall was completely delighted with what they saw. Jacal and Karis look at what is happening. Now it is clear why money is earned. Karis asked Vela if it would be possible to buy the dress and boots in other colors. Of course, the designer answered. If desired, fur can be added. The wife turned to her husband. Did he hear? If you add fur to the boots, it will look even cuter. And it seems like Kitty was a baby just yesterday. How quickly she has grown. The lady agrees. With the appearance of the girl, the choice of clothes has also changed. Karis turned to Jakal again, and children seem to grow up too fast. But this does not apply to Teo and Dayon, who experienced a stormy puberty. In their case, their father would like to see them grow up sooner. Once, Teo tried to pretend to be a sorcerer and playfully promised his father to become the strongest magician on the continent. Jakal tiredly asked him to remove the bandage from his healthy eye. And Dion told his mother about music, which became his passion. He sang about a dove carrying love. Karis smiled and declared that a wolf could not become a dove. Has Kitty really hit puberty? The girl, dressed in a beautiful pink dress, asked the Gridwolf gentleman to look at her. According to them, the color suits the beauty. Karis reminded that Kitty's birthday was just around the corner. She would soon be an adult. Jakal suggested raising the age of majority to 20. The gentleman thinks the changes in the law will be passed quickly. Karis doesn't mind, it would be nice. She rests her head on her husband's shoulder. Their girl is so cute. She showed up on their doorstep one day. The girl was too charming not to take her in. Karis thought again of Deal's dead daughter. She and Kitty would have been best friends. Tears appeared in the poor woman's eyes. According to Jakal, they still have time, so the wife should not poison herself with bad thoughts. How they wished that time would stop. Then the husband and wife could capture the most important moments of Kitty's life. Moments of happiness, sadness, falling in love. Jakal suggested omitting love. Karis agreed they didn't need it. Iden unexpectedly approached them with a conversation. The owners of the estate looked warily at the young genius.